One Piece Blades of Fire Chapter 361 to 380. Chapter 361 The Mysterious Little Girl. When the Toad Boss Wentai knocked her way to the ground, Sanwei took the opportunity to launch an attack and attacked Wentai with a water escape. Wentai is not a vegetarian either. He supported Erwei's body with both hands and pushed himself up with a forceful push, avoiding Sanwei's attack. Then he pulled out the short knife inserted into Erwei's body and stared at Sanwei with sharp eyes. You can kill him in the next second. However, the tailed beast was never an ordinary creature, and Erwei quickly recovered, and launched a fire escape behind Wentai. Neo's act of getting up caught Jiraiya's attention, and he hurriedly shouted, Boss Toad. Be careful behind you. Take care of yourself, Jiraiya. At this moment, Obito also launched the fire escape. Howling fireball technique. The Uchiha family's unique fire escape is very powerful, and if it is hit, it will be dangerous. Jiraiya had to distance himself from Obito again and jumped from Erwei to the ground. The Toad Boss faced Erwei who was behind him, and before he could dodge, his body was burned by the big mask, and he fell to the ground and couldn't move. I am sorry to come here. Wentai said in a dying breath, I didn't help you this time. It's nothing, boss. Zilai also comforted him. Go back quickly, I'll deal with the rest. Although Mrs. Wen was very worried about Jiraiya's situation, at this moment, she was also a mud bodhisattva crossing the river. No way, Wentai said sorry, and then returned to Miaomu Mountain. Facing the two huge-tailed beasts and the Obito with special abilities, Jiraiya and the two Toad Immortals were vaguely struggling. Little Jiraiya, what should I do now? Toad Fukasaku asked. I don't know either, but I have a question. Jiraiya said, I can understand that Akatsuki wants Naruto. He has 9 tails in his body, but why did they want Sasuke so much? What secrets do Sasuke have? At this time, Jiraiya suddenly remembered that Orochimaru also seemed to have told him that Naruto and Sasuke had secrets, but now Orochimaru has disappeared, and even if he tried to find out, he couldn't find anyone else. Don't think about such a boring question at this time. In short, find a way to retreat, we are not his opponents. Toad Shima said, Jiraiya, now is not the time to be brave, leave Chingshin in fear of running out of firewood. Jiraiya also doesn't know what to do now, but he understands that he can't hurt the two Toad Immortals because of his willfulness, so it seems that he can only retreat first. Obito saw Jiraiya's thoughts and did not intend to give him a chance to leave at all. He seized Jiraiya's weakness and said to him, Konoha village is not very far from here, do you think the two-tailed beasts are? How long will it take to level the village of Konoha? Only Tiandao was left for Pain who was defeated by Dirt Watergate. Now he was unable to repair the rest of Pain, so he had to use Tiandao to act alone. Because the masked man is very strong, basically, Teacher Jiraiya can't last long, so Tiandao doesn't plan to rush to them. When Tiandao walked to the Shao organization base, he was blocked by a short-haired girl wearing a red robe and about 1.6 meters tall and wearing glasses. Yahiko is really a handsome guy, but it's a pity that heaven is jealous of Yinkai, and he died too early. The girl had a pity expression on her face, and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes with her hand. It's so sad. Who are you? Tiandao asked. It doesn't matter who I am, what matters is who you are. The little girl stopped acting with a sly smile on her face. Nagato, stay safe. On the other side of the cave, Nagato, who was inconvenient to move, shook his body. This was the second person today who knew Pain's secret. The first was Orochimaru, and now it's this little girl whose origins are unknown. Seeing that Tiandao didn't speak, the little girl jumped to Tiandao's side, stretched out her little hand and said to him, Hello, my name is Lin Xiaoyu, please give me more advice. It seems that you know a lot of things. Nagato became interested in this little girl. When you appear in front of me, there must be something to tell me, or to kill me. PFF ha ha ha. Lin Xiaoyu covered his stomach and laughed when he heard his words, laughing out of breath. What a humorous man, I'm so young, what should I use to kill you? Soon she restrained her smile as if nothing had happened. tilted her head and looked up and down at Tiandao with interest. Let me guess, what are you four collecting tailed beasts for? What kind of forbidden art? Are you going to sell it to other countries? Looks like you know everything about us, Nagato said. Or, use 9 tailed beasts to summon 10 tails, and then realize the Moon Eye plan. Lin Xiaoyu's eyes suddenly turned cold, and the cold light from her eyes was extremely cold, as if it could freeze life. 10 tails. Nagato was a little surprised. He had never heard of 10 tails, let alone the Moon Eye project. For a while, he felt that this little girl was going to tell her something. Then are you willing to listen? Lin Xiaoyu laughed again. Like an unpredictable elf, no one could see her emotions. Can you sense what I'm thinking? Nagato asked. It's a secret, ha ha ha. Lin Xiaoyu laughed. Okay, tell me what you want to say. If you play tricks, I won't show mercy even to a little girl. Nagato said. Okay, don't play tricks. Seeing that the masked man was using Konoha village as a threat, Jirai had no choice but to fight against it. He whispered to the 2 Toad Immortals for a while to defend and not attack, and then attract the tailed beasts away from the village, and then find a way to defeat them. So under the combined attack of the second tail's fire escape and the third tail's water escape, Jiraiya could only take steps to escape. The surrounding wasteland was devastated by the tailed beast, and it became more and more difficult for Jiraiya to run. There were stones that were hid all around, and there was no place to rest under his feet. He could only find suitable stones to hide in the air. Even in the immortal mode, after a long time, it will be exhausted, and Zillai also feels that he can't run, so he has to use a clone technique to hide the main body. Behind a huge boulder, Jilai also panted heavily, and said to the 2 Toad Immortals, what can you do for the 2? Clone art is not a long-term solution, and it will be discovered sooner or later. At this moment, the sky suddenly darkened, and Jilai also looked up and saw 2 tailed beasts staring at him viciously. I found out so soon. Fukasaku and Shima shouted in unison, run. Any ninjutsu can be seen through in front of Shiranyan. Obito, who was standing beside Xiaonan, said coldly, and then he asked Xiaonan, will you be sad to kill your teacher in front of you like this? Chapter 362 Obito's Secret. For Xiaonan, teacher Jiraiya used to be like a father to her, but now everything is not important. She just wants to be by Nagato's side, help him fulfill his dream, let the world feel the pain, and then achieve permanent of peace. So when teacher Jiraiya fought against herself, Xiaonan didn't plan to use all her strength at all, she actually couldn't do anything against him. Seeing that Jiraiya was attacked by the tailed beast and fled everywhere, she could only try her best not to sympathize with him. Yahiko's death has made Xiaonan shed all tears, and she has learned to ignore everything. He is just a stumbling block blocking God's footsteps. Xiaonan still said the same thing. In his heart, Nagato and Yahiko and their dreams are the most important. I'm glad you have been so firm. Obito said slowly, this way we are still friends. What do you mean __? It's better. Obito once learned the original ending of this world from Oso. In that picture, Nagato was persuaded by Naruto, and then he worked hard to save the Konoha ninja killed by him with his chakra. And Obito fought to the death for Rinnegan and Konan who took Nagato. In that battle, Obito almost died in Xiaonan's tens of billions of detonating talismans, but fortunately he used the forbidden technique, Izanagi, to make himself alive. Now that he knew this ending, one less enemy would be better than one more friend. Obito had to keep concealing the matter and avoid letting them come into contact with Naruto, so he personally went into battle in this battle. After finding Naruto, he took him directly with him, into a different space. Just when Obito was still reminiscing about the battle with Xiaonan, a person suddenly came from behind him. It was Tiandao. Uchiha Madara. Although Tiandao's face was expressionless, his tone became difficult to guess. How is it? I am using the tailed beast to consume Jiraiya's physical strength. After he is exhausted, he will torture Naruto and Sasuke's whereabouts. Obito said. Obviously, he noticed the subtle changes in Tiandao. Although he lied to Nagato that he was Madara Uchiha, Nagato rarely called Madara Uchiha directly in public. What happened to him today? Xiaonan, does the oil on your body belong to teacher Jiraiya? Tian Dao asked while using a psychic technique, and the psychic showed that a big crab came out. The foam released by the crab washed away the oil on Xiaonan's body, and she could move again. Feel free. It's the teachers, are you okay? Xiaonan asked when he saw that there was only one pain in Tian Dao. No, it's just that the other pains were defeated by the dirty soil water gate. Tian Dao said. Reincarnation from the dirty earth. Where's Orochimaru? Conan asked. I was taken away by Ban. Tian Dao said. Finally, Obito began to be on guard, each mouthful of spots, clearly a deliberate tone. The heavenly Dao in front of him was a bit strange, and Obito had to be careful. He asked tentatively, what's the matter with you? Tian Dao turned his head at this moment, staring at Obito's one eye with extremely cold eyes. Rinnegan and Shiranyan looked at each other, and the air seemed to freeze at this moment. Uchiha. Tian Dao said the name behind very slowly, Obito. At this moment, Obito seemed to be unmasked by Tian Dao, and he was speechless for a while. He didn't know how Tian Dao knew his true identity, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Pain, what are you talking about? Xiaonan was stunned. Who is Uchiha Obito? He hadn't heard the name, but it was clearly a member of the Uchiha family. Xiaonan, the person in front of me is not Madara Uchiha. We were deceived by him from the beginning. Tian Dao explained. The purpose of his joining the Xiao organization is different from ours. Do you know what you're talking about? Obito's eyes also became sharp. Isn't it our common goal to make the world feel the pain? But I haven't heard of the Eye of the Moon plan. Tian Dao said, you've been lying to us from the beginning. Obito understood in an instant that Nagato couldn't think of these things out of thin air by himself. Someone must have told him behind his back. Is it absolutely? Or are they people from another world like Dazang and Zhang Yang? On the other hand, Jiraiya was still chased by the two-tailed beasts and ran away. Fortunately, Fukusaku and Shima's toad sound illusion played some role. The movements of the tailed beasts were restricted, and their attack and speed decreased. Little Jiraiya, what should I do now? Fukusaku asked. Try attacking, even a tailed beast should know it hurts. Jiraiya said, just use that one. Understood, Shino said. Senfa, Gomon. Incorporating the immortal technique chakra, coupled with the combination of fire done and wind done, a huge pillar of fire was launched towards Sanwei. Due to the presence of oil in the ninjutsu, Mitsuha, who was hit by Senfa Gomon, burst into flames all over, and it let out a tragic roar in pain. Then it disappeared with a bang, and it should have been taken back by the masked man. At this time, Jiraiya looked towards the masked man and was surprised to find that he was fighting Yahiko and Conan. What's going on? Is Akatsuki organized to kill each other? Jiraiya murmured. Although they are now a member of Akatsuki, but seeing my students fighting against others, I can't help but want to go and help. Ah. Che, take care of this side first, there is a tailed beast that can spit fire here. Toad Shima yelled at Jiraiya, I hate cats the most. Fuck, why don't you try our joint ninjutsu? Toad Fukusaku said, since it's effective against Sanwei's ninjutsu attack, so does Erwei. Shima nodded, then opened her mouth and stuck out her pink tongue. Soon, her tongue swam in the direction of Erwei like a snake and stretched infinitely. In the end, Shima wrapped Erwei with her tongue, but she didn't expect Erwei's strength to be so great that it wasn't an ordinary beast. Shima's tongue was pierced with blood, and the pain caused her to bulge out. Sweat. Are you okay? Jiraiya asked worriedly. Don't worry about this, kid's father, act quickly. Shino said with a face. Fukusaku hurriedly made seals with his hands, and then spit out a straight jet of water from his mouth, then he twisted his neck and made a gesture of turning his head. The water column that was comparable to a blade moved towards Erwei's body, and just after the water column cut part of Erwei's body, it also disappeared with a bang. Fuck the kid, are you alright? Fukusaku asked with concern. It's okay. Zima retracted her tongue in her mouth with difficulty, and then she frowned in pain. I won't be able to eat chili for a while. Chapter 363 Master and Disciple. It's a bit strange. Is the tailed beast weaker than expected? Jirai also has some doubts. When the nine-tailed invaded Konoha, countless ninjas died tragically. It didn't show the true strength of the tailed beast at all. Could it have something to do with the masked man? But at this moment, he couldn't think about it so much. The toad immortals on both sides of his shoulders were exhausted, especially Zima Immortal was seriously injured, so he could no longer put them in danger, so Zilai also asked them to go back to Miaomu Mountain first. Little Jiraiya, what do you mean? The battle isn't over yet, so let's be deserters. Fukasaku asked angrily, are we that kind of people? It doesn't mean that. Jiraiya also smiled awkwardly, and then explained, now that the tailed beast has disappeared, and the masked man has not summoned the tailed beast, maybe there will be no more tailed beasts for a while, and Konoha will be safe. What's more, Yahiko and Konan won't attack me for the time being, so I can take this opportunity to return to Konoha to rescue troops. After hearing what he said, Fukasaku felt relieved. Now that the corners of the child's mother's mouth had begun to ooze blood, he should go back for treatment immediately. So the two toad immortals retired first and went back to Miaomu Mountain. The moment the immortal mode was lifted, Jiraiya felt pain all over his body, and he stumbled and fell to the ground. It seems that he is really old and his physical strength is getting worse and worse, he laughed at himself. After a short rest, Jiraiya also channeled a small green toad, which was specially used for sending letters. It carried a small scroll and a small pen holder on its back. Jiraiya wrote the content of the call for support on the scroll, and then channeled the toad to Konoha's Hokage office. If nothing else, the mute should be there. After dodging almighty push of Tiandao and paper sword rain of Xiaonan, Obito opened up the fighting distance with them. It seems that destiny is destiny. Even if it is artificially changed, it is still difficult to escape the arrangement. Obito said that he launched the time-space ninjutsu, Kamiku, and then said to them, I will miss the days of fighting with you, Nagato, Konan. After Obito finished speaking, he left. In the entire area that was destroyed by the tailed beast, only Tiandao and Xiaonan were left. Of course, Zilai was still secretly observing the situation here from a distance. What's going on? Xiaonan asked at this time, what is the Moon Eye Project? Who is Obito? Uchiha Obito, who should have died in the Third Ninja War, but survived for some reasons. The purpose of his collection of tailed beasts is to use 9 tailed beasts to summon 10 tails, and then use the 10 tails to make the god tree blossom, and finally the ability to write the wheel eye is insinuated to the moon, so as to display the moon reading on the human beings all over the world, so that they will sleep in illusion forever. This is the world peace as understood by Obito. Quote. Tiandao explained, people need to grow up by themselves, not to force them all to achieve peace. Therefore, we have to take back the tailed beast, and continue to collect the tailed beast, and... For some reason, Tiandao suddenly stopped talking, and the expression on his face seemed to be frozen. What's wrong? Xiaonan asked hurriedly when he saw that something was wrong with him. However, Tiandao fell to the ground without warning, and then gradually closed his eyes. Pain. Nagato. Xiaonan couldn't wake up Tiandao. She immediately realized that something was wrong with Nagato, and hurried to the cave. Jirai in the distance also saw this scene, and was about to keep up, but saw more than a dozen ninjas in Anbu uniforms coming to his side. Jiraiya-sama, we are here to support Danzo-sama, where is Akatsuki's organization? The Anbu members headed as they said while observing the surrounding collapsed environment, sighing inwardly at the amazing destructive power of tailed beasts. Jiraiya explained to them what had just happened, then walked to Yahiko's position and touched his body, which was very cold. Is this the leader of Akatsuki? Anbu member asked. Did he get killed by Jiraiya-sama? Yahiko. Jiraiya called his apprentice's name softly, but he couldn't wake him up anymore. It took a long time for Jirai, who fell into memory, to hear someone calling him beside him. He came back to his senses and asked the two of them to take Yahiko's body back to study, and then led the other Anbu members to follow the direction Xiaonan was heading. Nagato. When Xiaonan rushed to the cave and saw the scene in front of her, she covered her mouth and broke out in painful choking. Then Xiaonan knelt on the ground, like a little girl who hasn't grown up yet, crying bitterly. The little boy who used to be shy, the man who kept saying that he would protect her forever, is now lying in a pool of blood and will never come back. When Jiraiya rushed to the cave and saw Nagato's body, his eyes were wet for a while. I don't know what caused it, but Nagato looked much thinner than before. The bones of the body propped up the skin, and the ribs in front of the chest were also very prominent. And he has a lot of chakra black sticks on him. These black sticks are also on pain. It seems that they should be used to control those pain. In this way, Yahiko has always been controlled by Nagato, which is why he has Rinnegan. The members of the Anbu found Xiaonan's black robes, and hurriedly surrounded her, ready to subdue her at any time. Jiraiya approached Nagato to observe, and when he saw the wound on his neck, he felt a little strange. Unlike the appearance of being cut by a knife, the cross-section of the wound is not flat, but it is like being twisted and broken. Could it be that Nagato was twisted and his neck was broken, and then the murderer left with his head? Could it be the masked man just now? Zilai also tried hard to make himself think about these troublesome things, and deliberately drew his attention to it, but he still couldn't hold back, and tears rolled in his eyes. The former apprentice, because he did not have the correct guidance and long-term relationship, took the wrong path, and now he is also killed by the hands of others. As a master, his heart is like being cut by a knife. One knife after another cut through the heart, and the memories of the past flowed out with blood. Xiaonan's choked sound brought Jiraiya back to reality. He wiped away his tears and walked to her side. He wanted to open his mouth to call Xiaonan's name, but no matter how hard he tried, no sound could come out of his throat. Xiaonan cried heartbroken. In fact, she hid her most vulnerable heart under the appearance of indifference and pretended to see through life and death. In fact, when the most important person left, she still couldn't control her collapse. The emotions that have been accumulated in my heart for many years, whether pain or warmth, all poured out from my heart like a flood bursting at this moment. Finally, Jiraiya swallowed his saliva, and then made a trembling voice, Xiaonan. Master. Chapter 364 5 Shadow Talks. The Iron Country, the only country that has not been threatened by war in the 3 ninja wars, because this country has no ninja, all are samurai relations, has an independent culture and authority, and belongs to a neutral country, so the 5 major countries announced a long time ago. Do not wage war on the Iron Nation. Therefore, the location of the 5 Shadows meeting was also selected here, and the meeting was chaired by the ruler of the Iron Country, Mifune. The Shadow Ninjas who came to the meeting this time included the 5 generations of Kagage Gara of Sandian Village, the 4th generation of Reikage of Union Village, the 5th generation of Mizukage of Wuin Village, Terumi Mei of Mizukage of Wuin Village, and the 3rd generation of Tukage of Yenian Village. The 5 generations of Hokage Tsunade in Yi Village. Tsunade was the initiator of this meeting. Originally, he received doubts from several other villages because of the appearance of a tailed beast suspected to be a white wolf in Konoha. But since Zhang Yang told some things about the ninja world, it was not easy for Tsunade to take the initiative to summon these difficult shadows and convince them to unite against Akatsuki. When all the shadows were seated at the conference table, Mifune announced, "The conference officially begins. This time, I called everyone here to announce an important event. Everyone must know about the notorious Akatsuki organization. Their purpose is to collect 9-tailed beasts to destroy the world, so..." Tsunade he was interrupted before he could finish speaking. "So do you want everyone to hand over the tailed beasts?" Tokage Tianping Onogi said with a playful expression. "Tsunade, there is only a small organization of Akatsuki, why are you so afraid of it?" "Smelly old man," Tsunade scolded in her heart. She restrained her emotions, and then said, "It's not the Akatsuki organization, but the planner behind the Akatsuki organization. You may not believe me when I say his name. However, He does still exist in this world. Actually, Tsunade was making a bet. She clearly knew that the masked man was Uchiha Obito, but she would definitely not attract attention just by saying this person's name, because the other kind had never even heard of this person. So after listening to Zhang Yang's suggestion, she deliberately called Madara Uchiha. Uchiha Madara. Sure enough, as soon as the name was mentioned, all the shadows began to discuss, and even the guards behind the curtain behind each shadow began to discuss in a low voice. The person who has the most feelings for the name Uchiha Madara is probably Tiantianping Onogi. He has met Madara once and fought against each other, but unfortunately the gap in strength is terrifying. If you said it was Uchiha's grandson, I would still believe it. Onogi said, he is already dead, don't spread rumors here, Tsunade. We should talk about the appearance of tailed beasts in Konoha, except nine-tailed Manzuli. When did you get another tailed beast? Stinky old man. Tsunade couldn't help it this time, and shouted, it's not a tailed beast, it's just an ancient psychic beast in White Wolf Village. There are only 9 tailed beasts in the world, and the first Hokage once took them for free. It was distributed to various ninja villages to maintain peace. Now someone wants to take away the tailed beast. Shouldn't we join forces to protect the tailed beast? As far as I know, the 2-tailed Manzuli Yumu of Union Village has been captured by Akatsuki, and after the death of Mizukage Yakura, the 3-tailed man of Wuin Village, before the death of the 3-tailed man, the 3 tails became wild, and later was also taken by Akatsuki. The organization took it away. As far as I know, 2-tailed beasts have already been captured. And, after she finished speaking, she looked at Reikage who was beside her. What's the matter? I asked, what's wrong with me? It's not that you have a problem, it's that your brother Kurabi has a problem. If I'm not wrong, he should retreat and practice in Yunlei Gorge at the moment. Tsunade said word by word. I froze for a moment. I didn't expect Tsunade to know so much about her Union Village. Could it be that she secretly arranged Konoha's spies in the village? Thinking of this, I angrily punched the table and smashed the table into a hole. This movement was not small, and all the shadow guards behind the curtain rushed out, jumped to their shadow's table, and made a defensive posture. Kazakh guards Tamari and Konkuro, Reikage guards Darui and Nozomi, Mizukage guards Nagajiro and Ao, Tukage guards Kurozu and Chichi, and Hokage guards Kakashi and Kai. Tsunade, when did you arrange a spy in our village? Is this shameful behavior worthy of being a Hokage? I growled without thinking. Tsunade clenched her fists in anger. She was not afraid of Reikage more than strength, but as the initiator of the meeting, she did not want to let this meeting come back without success. So she suppressed her anger and was about to explain when she heard a voice say, please don't speak so loudly to our lovely Tsunade sister, this muscular man, be a gentleman. Everyone wondered whose voice it was. At this moment, a boy walked out from behind the Hokage screen and greeted them with a smile. 5 shadows, it really lives up to its reputation. Zhang Yang applauded. He used to watch them in anime, but now there are real people in front of him. He was still a little excited. Tsunade, when did you have children? Terumi May said with a smile, I really can't tell. Stop talking nonsense. Tsunade's lungs exploded when he heard her speech, which showed that he was getting old. And when Zhang Yang saw Terumi May, his whole body floated up, a train ran in his mouth, and he said without thinking, what a great figure, Sister Shuiying, whoever married you would not be happy to die. Shuiying touched her lips with her fingers, and said with a charming smile, what a cute little devil, it should taste very good. As she spoke, a red molten liquid flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Zhang Yang immediately woke up when he saw it. He knew exactly what it was, and immediately waved his hand away from the water shadow. Where did the kid come from? Rai Ying roared, this is the 5 shadow talks, not a place for children to play house. Zhang Yang didn't pay attention to Rai Ying, but said to everyone, I'll tell you a story, whether you like it or not. A long time ago, probably during the Third Ninja World War, the village of Kurikan in the Land of Water caught a little girl named Rin Konoha during a mission. So the village of Kurikan was naughty, and they came up with a way. since it's Konoha's ninja, let her become Renjuli, put 3 tails into her body, and let her release 3 tails when she returns to Konoha, so Konoha won't be destroyed. But unexpectedly, their plan failed. A teenager named Kakashi found out about it. He went to rescue Lin, but Lin let him kill herself. Later, Lin died in the hands of Kakashi, and this scene happened to be seen by a boy who was wearing a vortex mask at the time, so guess what? This boy, he actually became a 6th-path immortal and almost destroyed the whole world. Chapter 365 The 5 Shadows Talk Part 2. In the eyes of the few photographers, what Zhang Yang said was a nonsense made up by a child. If you say something that you can barely believe in the front, it is pure nonsense in the back. What 6 immortals and destroying the world are completely nonsense. I couldn't sit still at first. He wouldn't listen to a brat here, so he said to Tsunade, if this kid is from Konoha, he should control it. This is not the place he should come. Strictly speaking, I'm not a Konoha ninja. Zhang Yang finally decided to confess, I'm from another world. In the following period of time, Zhang Yang told how he came to the world of ninjas and what he experienced here. Except for Tsunade, Gaara, and Terumi-mei, the shadows present seemed to be listening to a book from heaven, and they only felt that Zhang Yang was telling a boring story. Gaara has contacted Zhang Yang before and knows his abilities, so I understand him. And Terumi-mei remembered the previous generation Mizukage Yakura. She had also privately learned about some of Yakura's practices, such as Zhang Yang's practice of putting Sanwei in Lin's body and then attacking Konoha. She also heard about it. More importantly, no more than 5 people will know about this. How did this child know? Onogi said to Zhang Yang very rudely, do you have a Rinnegan? Take it out and see, don't make fun of it. Zhang Yang didn't intend to know him in the same way, so he said with a hilarious smile, why should I show it to you, old man? Oyemu felt very unhappy when he was choked, but because he was a shadow, he couldn't even have a stomach, so he had to give up and stop talking. Hei-tu, one of the guards in front of him, whispered to him, Master, I like this kid very much, hee. Lei Ying was angry at this time. He walked in front of Zhang Yang and said viciously, don't make a fool of yourself, or you will suffer. And Zhang Yang stared at I nonchalantly and asked, really? I haven't suffered since I was a child, but I want to try it, but do you have the ability? I was so angry that he glanced at Tsunade, then stretched out his hand and quickly knocked on the back of Zhang Yang's neck, intending to let him stop for a while. But what I didn't expect was that Zhang Yang didn't move. A golden dragon claw as big as his body stretched out from behind him to hold his fist. I was surprised to show that he had such an ability, so the strength in his hand began to gradually increase, and the golden claw didn't seem to have any intention of retreating, but I's arm began to vibrate. There were so many people watching, and I couldn't hold on to his face, so he could only use Lei Dun chakra to activate his body, thereby increasing his strength and speed. Almost at the same time, another giant claw stretched out from Zhang Yang's body, grabbed Lei Ying's whole body with lightning speed, and pushed it to the back wall, pinching him tightly. The only thing that can hurt Fu Lang is the original thunder and lightning energy, and Lei Ying's thunder escapes in front of it, like a tickling. Everyone was surprised that Zhang Yang had such strength. Not only could he resist Raikage's attack, but he could actually turn into a tail beast. I know that you have opinions on my appearance, but I can't help it. I can't control this kind of time and space shuttle. If I say that I just came here from the world of One Piece, King of Pirates, I don't understand what I'm talking about. Zhang Yang said helplessly. Anyway, I have the ability to kill you, so I don't need to lie to you. What I said just now is completely true. If anyone still doesn't believe it, you can try. Okay, let the old man come to meet you. Oyemu said and floated up. His hands quickly formed a seal, dust escape. The technique of stripping the original world. In an instant, Zhang Yang was isolated in the dust of the cube. He looked at Oyemu helplessly and said, using this trick to deal with me is very cruel, old man. Didn't you threaten to kill us? Come and try. Oyemu laughed, come out if you have the ability. However, at this time, Daemu saw that the dust escape enchantment around Zhang Yang was gradually shrinking, and Zhang Yang's hand was actually forming a seal, and that handprint was his own dust escape. When Anamu's enchantment was completely absorbed by himself, Zhang Yang returned the technique to Onogi in its original form, dust escape. The technique of peeling off the original realm. This time, Toying was trapped in the barrier. He was so shocked that he broke into a cold sweat. Only the second generation Toying and him can use this technique, and there is no third person who can do it. How did Zhang Yang do it? In fact, Zhang Yang is also very depressed, who made himself the protagonist, can absorb everyone's ninjutsu, and can return it as it is. If it weren't for another transmigrator coming to this world, he probably wouldn't pay attention to anyone. Although neither Reikage nor Tuikage did their best, the two of them were very clear about Zhang Yang's strength and were definitely not mediocre. The rest are Gaara and Terumi Mei. Gaara will naturally not oppose Zhang Yang, and Terumi Mei has begun to believe him since he said that Yakura used 3 tails to attack Konoha. Zhang Yang saw Terumi Mei's thoughts, and smiled and said to her, "Sister Mizukage, there is something I have to confess to you. In fact, the person who ordered Lin to become a 3-tailed person was not Yakura. He was controlled by the ninja with the wheel eye, which means that the water shadow you were familiar with before was actually Madara Uchiha." Quote. In other words, the Akatsuki organization grew up in Yuyan village in the land of water. It turned out to be the laissez-faire of the former water shadow. Onogi said, "You have to take great responsibility for this." That's what I said, but it can't be separated from Konoha, and if it goes further, it can't be dragged on by all countries, because no matter how many times the ninja war is, the pain it brings to countless people will always be there. Increase, fear turns into anger, anger turns into hatred, this negative energy is contagious, and the war will not disappear for a day. There will always be hatred between people. Zhang Yang talked eloquently and said what he said in his heart. He continued, "There is also war in our world." Later, some scientists invented a powerful atomic bomb, which is equivalent to the power of 9-tailed beasts. Said, such power cannot make people feel fear. Zhang Yang continued, "Of course there will be fear. After our world has experienced 2 world wars, people are afraid of the power of the atomic bomb, and large-scale wars have really disappeared since then. However, those small countries that have not produced atomic bombs are still living in a hell where water creates fire and heat. They are fighting every day and worrying about whether they will be able to see the sun the next morning. Their hatred spreads in their hearts. Hated the great powers that robbed them of their resources and territories. Like Akatsuki in your ninja world, they are no longer human, but the embodiment of countless pain and hatred." Chapter 366 Girl. Zhang Yang's words made everyone present feel heavy, and the Folang in his body kept laughing. When everyone was thinking, Zhang Yang and Folang fought each other. "What are you laughing at?" Zhang Yang roared unhappily. "My uncle is so embarrassed that we are so embarrassed that they are all ashamed of themselves." "Why, do you also want to experience it? I thought you were using some method to convince them of you, but it turned out to be your mouth." Fu Lang said with disgust on his face, "It's better to talk than to sing, why don't you be a storyteller?" "Fu Lang, if you want to fight with me, just say it, I will accompany you." Zhang Yang said disdainfully. "Okay, no kidding, I just don't understand, how could you suddenly think of combining the power of the 5 shadows to form a ninja coalition? Are you afraid of Akatsuki? Or what are you afraid of?" Fu Lang seeing through his thoughts, he said sharply, "Speak out, I will help you with the staff." Zhang Yang rolled his eyes at him, sighed helplessly, and then slowly said, "I am not afraid of anyone in this ninja world. You can see that I am both rudimentary and Rinnegan, and I can learn the tolerance of everyone. Will such a person with a protagonist halo be afraid of people in this world?" "Then what are you afraid of?" Folang asked knowingly. "Traveler," Zhang Yang said in a low voice, "I felt something was wrong from the beginning of Dazang. He is obviously also an outsider. Although his strength is not very good, his arrival sounded a wake-up call to me. Since he can come, others can come too." Quote. Flora didn't say a word. Zhang Yang stared at him and said, "Can't you feel the arrival of the transmigrators? Why don't you tell me how many people have entered the world of Naruto?" "Because I just think it's fun. It doesn't make sense to say it." Franz smiled. "It's interesting that the world is getting more and more chaotic. I have lived for hundreds of millions of years, and I am only interested in fun things. Have you heard? Ow. Is it B or D? It's fun, even more fun than destroying the world," Zhang Yang asked suddenly. "What? What is it? What is it?" Fu Lang couldn't understand Zhang Yang's words. It must be something in his world. "Although I don't know very well, but I'll show you." After speaking, Zhang Yang put his left hand on the back of his head and his right hand on his crotch, and jumped up with a shudder, not forgetting to shout in his mouth, "Ow! Is it B or D?" After a few steps of spacewalking, he ended the performance on tiptoe in a very coquettish pose. Fu Lang looked blank. "What are you doing?" "Michael Jackson, haven't you heard of this?" Zhang Yang continued. "Ow, twice. It's very interesting. I can show it to you every day, as long as you tell me how many transmigrators have come." "I'll tell you something. Please don't do such disgusting things in front of me again." Fran continued. "I only tell you, as far as I can perceive, there are 7 transmigrators in this world. People, including you. Their abilities are different, and the amount of energy in their bodies is also different, so their strengths are high and low, but I want to say something that hits your self-confidence. There is a person who is stronger than you. Much." "So what do you mean?" Zhang Yang asked angrily. "So you may die." Fran closed his eyes after speaking. Obviously he didn't want to say any more. After coming out of his own consciousness, Zhang Yang found that the people around him were staring at him like a mentally retarded person. He coughed twice in embarrassment and asked, "How's the discussion going?" "We'd love to hear from you about how the world ends and how we can change it," Gaara said. "Very good." Zhang Yang nodded, took a deep breath, turned around and said, "Kakashi, I'll leave it to you." Kakashi scratched his head, smiled embarrassedly, and then began to tell everyone about Naruto that Zhang Yang once said. Taking advantage of the time he could finally relax, Zhang Yang slipped out to get some air. When he came to the lobby on the first floor, he saw a few armored warriors from the Kingdom of Iron blocking someone, so he walked over curiously to take a look. When I got closer, I saw that it was a little girl with short hair, pitifully begging a few warriors to let her in. Zhang Yang didn't expect that there is such a cute little girl in the country of iron. Isn't this situation a good opportunity for him to show his skills? As the saying goes, heroes save beauty, and everyone is responsible. So Zhang Yang swaggered over and patted one of the warriors on the shoulder. The samurai turned his head and saw the child who followed Naruto Tsunade, and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" Zhang Yang coughed twice, deliberately lowered his voice and asked in a pretentious manner, "What happened? Who is this little girl?" When the girl saw Zhang Yang, she had a good look, and hurriedly broke free from the warrior who was holding her arm, went around and ran behind Zhang Yang, hugged him, and said while sobbing, "Brother, save me, they bullied me." As soon as Zhang Yang heard the muffled voice and felt the soft body again, fire could burst from his nose. He turned around to comfort the little girl. "Don't worry, my brother is here. Brother Zhang Yang is the best." "Of course. How do you know my name is?" Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by a samurai who couldn't stand it any longer. "You two little brats have no end. This is the center of the 5 shadows talks, can you not be so noisy? This strong man, there is something you can't talk about well, and you have to pull this girl." After Zhang Yang thought of something, he turned around and asked, "Why did he pull you?" "It hurts to squeeze my hand." Tears came down the girl's words. Zhang Yang heard this. Did he still deserve it? Dare to pinch such a cute little girl, it's a death sentence. So in just 10 seconds, several warriors lay unconscious on the ground with their eyes lit up with gold stars. "You're amazing, but I have to go first if I have something to do. I'll thank you next time." The girl was about to leave, but was caught by Zhang Yang. "Why are you in such a hurry, little sister? Why do you want to go in? There are several idiots discussing the problem, but it is dangerous, you must not go in. Zhang Yang said. I'll go to my uncle. Who is your uncle? 3 ships. Then why are you looking for him? It's nothing to do with you. Well, don't hold me anymore. Don't worry, tell me what's your name. At this time, the pitiful expression on the girl's face disappeared, replaced by a wicked smile. She brought her face to Zhang Yang's face, and at a close distance, she could feel their breathing. Then she said slowly, Lin Xiaoyu. Chapter 367 Declaring War. Lin Xiaoyu. Lin Xiaoyu. Hearing this name, Zhang Yang felt like he was hit hard in his heart, and even his breathing became heavier and heavier. In the world of Naruto, there is no such name at all. There is no doubt that the little girl named Lin Xiaoyu in front of her is a traveler like him. Zhang Yang was immediately excited. Apart from Da Zhang, he had never met any other traveler. Now another traveler finally came to him. Although it was a little strange, Zhang Yang still felt an inexplicable intimacy towards her. It's time to let go now, I still have some things to deal with, otherwise, people will die. Lin Xiaoyu winked playfully at Zhang Yang, and then broke away from Zhang Yang's hand when he was in a trance. Headed towards the conference room of the 5 Shadows talk. Zhang Yang finally recovered from his excitement. He hurriedly wanted to catch up and ask for more information. After all, it was not easy to meet a Chinese named Lin Xiaoyu in a place like this. No, it's not easy, it's a miracle. This is called a fellow, 2 tiers. Zhang Yang, who has been traveling through different dimensions, is actually very patriotic. He really wants to know what the motherland of the motherland is like now. The country owes me a plane ticket home. Zhang Yang almost burst into tears. But when he chased after 2 steps, he felt that something was wrong, and there seemed to be movement behind him. He stopped and looked back, and his mind exploded. Yo, little devil, we meet again so soon, are you ready to dedicate yourself to Lord Evil God? Ha 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 ha. On the other hand, Kakashi was interrupted by Ao, one of Terumi Mei's guards, before Kakashi had finished talking about the battlefield. He said, I am a perceptual ninja, and someone is coming this way. For a while, everyone present stopped talking, and 15 pairs of eyes looked around and were vigilant. Strange, this person, Ching said after feeling it for a while, it seems that there is no chakra. At this moment, the main door of the conference room was slowly pushed open, and the guards of the shadows were all ready for battle. A short-haired girl with glasses came in from outside. She first looked around, observed everyone, and then shouted excitedly, it's amazing, it's really 5 shadows. Then, she said in the surprised eyes of everyone, well, I will officially announce now, ahem, the 4th Ninja World War has officially begun. Where did the kid come from? I asked. Tsunade, is it your Konoha again? Don't put everything on our Konoha head, okay. I've never seen her before. Tsunade roared. Is there no samurai outside the door to stop her? The security of the Iron Country is so poor. Onogi asked. I am really sorry, it's our responsibility. Mifune was a little embarrassed, but with the facts in front of him, he couldn't say anything. Who are you? What are you doing here? Shuiying asked. Is it Zhang Yang's friend? Gaara said, I can feel the same aura in both of you. After listening to all of them, Lin Xiaoyu put his finger in his mouth with a smile, and then bit hard. Although there was no bleeding from the bite, she still pretended to draw on her hand, then slapped the ground hard, and said with a wicked smile, spirituality. Immediately afterwards, everyone suddenly saw that the space behind the girl had changed, as if it had been twisted into a vortex by a force, and then slowly emerged from the vortex several figures in black robes. Striking red cloud pattern. The forehead guards on these people's foreheads come from different ninja villages, but they all have a scratch on it, and they also wear rings that symbolize different positions on their hands. Several shadows were shocked. It was actually the Xiao organization. What? Have you ever met this kid? Deidara asked. Well, I met Yukaku when I went to Union to catch the two-tailed man Shuri. At that time, he ran fast, and I fought with the remaining 4 Konoha ninjas. Haiden recalled, but it doesn't matter, the important thing is that Lord Heretic God can have such a fresh taste today, ha 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 ha, cool. Looking at Feijuan's mentally retarded look, Deidara was very depressed. He didn't understand why he arranged himself with this second-hand guy. He really wanted to go up and fight those shadows. Huh, what are you thinking of, Deidara? Feijuan reminded him when he saw that he was in a daze. I'll go up first, and I'll go to the top immediately after the fight. I'll be like a bitch, cut. After finishing speaking, Feijuan rushed towards Zhongyang with his red sickle on his back, leaving Deidara, who was flushed with anger, and almost blew himself up behind him. Just when Feijuan was only a few steps away from Zhongyang, he was about to throw the scissors over when he suddenly heard a "hey" sound, followed by a huge explosion, and then he felt a play on his back. Pain, and then pushed to the ground by the force of a shock wave. Smelling the smell of the fried skin on his back, the facial features on Feijuan's face were all twisted together. He looked back at Deidara in disbelief, and shouted at him loudly, what are you doing? Do you want to die? What are you blasting me for? Who knew that, Deidara said with an apologetic face. Oh, I'm so sorry, I bombed the wrong person. I'm really sorry, I sincerely apologize to you here, really sincere, you can't blow up anyway. Did you put your assholes on your eyes? Feijuan yelled angrily. This can all go wrong. I think you did it on purpose, huh? At this time, Deidara didn't pretend to be anymore. He stared at Feijuan and yelled at Feijuan, what did you say? Did your mother forgot to give you her brain when she gave birth to you? How stupid is like a pig. No wonder the corners are complaining every day that they want to kill you, idiot. What? Do you want to fight? Feijuan said. He picked up the sickle and walked back. Do you also want to dedicate yourself to Lord Heretic God? I will fulfill you. It seems that you want to devote yourself to art. Well, let's give you a taste of the explosion. Deidara said, and put his hands into the 2 bags of explosive clay around his waist, and the 2 mouths in his palms were wide open. After gulping down the clay and spitting it out, it turned into the shape of several clay birds. What's the situation? Zhongyang was dumbfounded by the sight. Didn't they come to attack him? Why did the 2 fight in the nest? To be honest, Zhongyang was still a little embarrassed at this moment. He felt very embarrassed to be ignored like this. So he shouted at the 2 gunpowder guys, is there something wrong with the 2 of you? Shut up. Feijuan and Deidara rarely had a tacit understanding on this matter, and they shouted in unison, I'll take care of you later. Chapter 368 Konoha, the land of fire. In the interrogation room, Xiaonan and Jiraiya sat face to face, neither of them said a word. Yet at the same time they are all reminiscing about the past, when Nagato, Yahiko and Konan first met Jiraiya. Kill them, I have seen too many orphans left over from wars, and most of them end up miserably. Orochimaru said. At that time, Xiaonan was extremely afraid, and was really afraid that the 3 Konoha ninjas in front of him would kill them. But one of the ninjas with very long white hair suddenly said, you guys go back first, I'll just stay and teach them ninjutsu enough to survive. This was the first sentence Jiraiya said when he saw the 3 little guys. It was as warm as the sun. During the period of learning ninjutsu with teacher Jiraiya with his companions, it was probably the happiest day in Xiaonan's life. There was no trouble and pain, no death and despair, only happiness and hope. Later, Mr. Jiraiya had to return to Konoha because of the task. He had been outside for too long, so he said goodbye to them and looked forward to meeting again one day. However, I couldn't wait for the arrival of teacher Jiraiya, and only Yahiko's death came. Yahiko's dream is to protect this country that is always raining. He doesn't understand why God keeps crying over this country, so he wants to change it. Thus, the Shao organization was established. The purpose of this organization is to protect its own country. Yahiko is the leader of Akatsuki's organization. He brought Nagato and Xiaonan to show their talents in various battles. Over time, more and more people joined Akatsuki, and everyone seemed to see a bright future. Accidents always come suddenly. The influence of Akatsuki's organization is getting wider and wider, threatening the interests of Sanjou Hanzo. He unites with Konoha's Danzo, and the two attack Akatsuki together. In the end, Konan was caught by Sanshou Hanzo and used her to threaten Yahiko. In order to save his companions, Yahiko asked Nagato to kill him. How could Nagato be able to fight, so Yahiko walked over and committed suicide under Nagato's sword. On that day, Nagato showed his amazing ability and used his Rinnegan to summon the 10-tailed body golem, and a tragic slaughter began like that. Later, a person who claimed to be Madara Uchiha and wore a mask found them and re-established Akatsuki. Since then, Akatsuki's organization has completed its transformation. Yahiko's corpse was made into the Way of Pain by Nagato, and he was still Akatsuki's leader, and Nagato kept hiding in the dark in order to control Pain and never showed up again. Xiaonan, I'm a bad teacher, right? At this time, Zilai also spoke suddenly, and he didn't want to let the situation continue to be embarrassing, let alone now was not the time to be embarrassed. Xiaonan raised her head with a tired and dazed look in her eyes. She asked, "What?" "It's nothing, I just wanted to call you by your name. I haven't seen you for many years. I miss you very much." Zilai also said. "Master, where are the bodies of Nagato and Yahiko?" Xiaonan wanted to take the two of them away and take them to the log cabin where the three of them once lived. "I understand what you're thinking, but now, I still have a lot of questions to ask you, okay?" Jiraiya asked. "You ask," Xiaonan said. "Who is that masked man? What is the purpose of your attack on Orochimaru this time?" Jiraiya asked 3 questions in one go, and where has Orochimaru been taken? The masked man. I don't know. He used to call himself Madara Uchiha, but Nagato told me that his name was Uchiha. It seems that he is Obito, and I don't know it either. Nan replied, "Attack Orochimaru as Obito." Soil's suggestion, "We don't know what he meant, and we don't know where Orochimaru was taken." Really? Zilai was also lost in thought. The name Uchiha Obito is very familiar and seems to be related to Kakashi. Then what's your plan? Plan. Master, has the 5 Shadows meeting been held? How do you know? 5 Shadows are in danger. In the Land of Iron, the 5 Shadows talks. On one side are the 5 Shadows and their guards and 3 ships, and on the other are Scorpion, Ghost Shark, Jiaodu, Ju, Dazo, Orochimaru, Obito and Lin Xiaoyu. Kakashi saw Uchiha Obito, and although he had already made preparations, he still couldn't believe it at this moment. "Obito," Kakashi said softly. "Kakashi, it's been a long time." Obito greeted like an old friend. "I'm sorry, No need, I already know that this is all the ghost of Uchiha Madara. He set a spell in Rin's body to prevent her from committing suicide, so Rin will die on your Rachel." Obito was already in Oso's mind knowing these things very clearly, that's why he took Orochimaru, because he couldn't let Orochimaru find Uchiha Madara. "Since you already know the truth, why are you still obsessed with it?" Kakashi asked. "You think I'm doing all this just for Lin? You're wrong, I'm for thousands of children who are still being used in wars like Lin." "Well said." Lin Xiaoyu applauded. Dazang glanced at him and muttered in his heart, "This girl who just got together with Obito is so courageous, but since she can persuade Obito, she must not be an easy-going person." "Orochimaru, why did you return to the Akatsuki organization?" Tsunade was very heartbroken. This former comrade in arms and friend is now constantly fighting against the world, and he can no longer pull it back. "Tsunade, I'm just wearing this stupid clothes temporarily. Destroying the world is not my thing, but this child is what I'm interested in, I'm just helping her," Orochimaru said with a smile. Lin Xiaoyu nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Uncle Snake." "Who the hell are you?" I asked. I'll tell you when you beat them," Lin Xiaoyu said with a smile, and then she waved to Obito. "The rest is left to you, don't forget our deal." Quote. After she finished speaking, she left. When she walked to the entrance of the hall on the first floor, she heard loud explosions and fighting sounds. She went down to take a look and was dumbfounded. Zhang Yang sat on the ground, leaning against the wall, with Erlang's legs crossed. And Feijuan and Didera are actually fighting each other. What the hell is going on? Hey, what are you two doing? Lin Xiaoyu yelled at them angrily. Hearing Lin Xiaoyu's voice, Feijuan and Didera stopped. Neither of them fell off, and their bodies were injured. Cut, this bomber blew me up first. Feijuan said. Don't talk nonsense, it's you who scolded me first. Didera retorted. Enough, after the tasks given to you are completed, it's not too late to fight again. Lin Xiaoyu said. Zhang Yang was stunned by this scene. This girl was able to train the people of Xiao's organization to be stunned. Chapter 369 The battle begins. After being reprimanded by Lin Xiaoyu, Feijuan and Didera were very upset, but they stopped fighting, glared at each other, and said, Afterwards, Lin Xiaoyu waved to Zhang Yang and said, Okay, now you can fight them with peace of mind. I still have things to do, so I'll go first. Bye-bye brother Zhang Yang. Looking at her back, Zhang Yang felt fear for the first time. The person who can command Xiao's organization so easily is enough to prove how strong she is. Could it be that she is the one that Fu Lang said, a transmigrator who is stronger than himself? Now is not the time to ask Frong, because Feijuan and Didera have already started to attack him. Didera creates blasting clay. The giant bird, which took it up into the air, occupied the favorable terrain above, and was also convenient for surprise attacks. Feijuan is a melee attack. Although there is only a single attack method such as a sickle, he still needs to be more careful with his speed and death-defying style of play. If he collects Zhang Yang's blood, it will really be a dead end. Soon, Feijuan rushed in front of Zhang Yang, and the attack of the sickle was very fast and fierce, and it brushed against Zhang Yang's skin several times, which was very thrilling. For the sake of safety, Zhang Yang slammed a few backflips and flying segments to distance himself. When he just stood firm, he suddenly heard the sound of wings flapping behind him. He glanced at it with his eyes, and it turned out to be a fist-sized blasting clay. Only when Didera heard a "ha" sound, the detonating bird exploded at the back of Zhang Yang's head, and a loud bang raised the explosion smoke, and Zhang Yang was wrapped in the smoke. Art as explosion, Didera said, looking at Feijuan triumphantly. Cut. Feijuan shouted at Zhang Yang in the smoke, Hey! Cheer up, you'll be blown up by this little clay. Are you too weak? Hey, get up for me. Zhang Yang in the smoke thanked Fo Lang in his heart, because at the moment before the explosion, Fo Lang's hand protected the back of his head, so Zhang Yang was not injured, but was shocked by the shock wave of the explosion. Hearing Feijuan's shouting, he was inexplicably irritable, but he couldn't think of a good plan for a while. Haiden is immortal, and the only way to defeat him is to control his actions. Unfortunately, Shikamaru is not here now, so there is only one way left, cutting off his head like Asma in the original book. It just so happens that the corners are not around now, and no one can sew his head up again. Although Frong can help him resist Didera's attack, he can't block the shock wave. He will still be injured, and if his internal organs are bleeding, it is not so easy to recover. No way, only to try Ai's trick. Afterwards, Zhang Yang injected the chakra of the thunder attribute into his body, so that he could activate his body cells, thereby achieving an increase in speed and strength. As a result, it should not be difficult to avoid their attacks. But when Zhang Yang took the chakra of the thunder attribute, the numbness and pain in his body made him unable to hold on, and he gave up quickly. It was only then that he realized that Lei Ying's muscles were not trained in vain. He didn't have super physical fitness. This move was really not something that others could easily try. I had no choice but to bite the bullet and go first. Zhang Yang materialized from his body, and then started a hand-to-hand fight with Feijuan. Feijuan's attack is very reckless, but his strength and speed are very strong. And Zhang Yang can't focus on him, because there is a Didera above his head who can throw bombs down at any time. Didera originally planned to help Feijuan attack Zhang Yang together, but he thought later that his master, Ping Anamu and his younger sister, were on it for 2 days, and he didn't want to see them both so soon. What's more, when he was asked to join the Shao organization, he just said to capture the tailed beast. No one told him to fight the 5 shadows. Deidara still didn't want to fight with his master, so he was slow. Not very hard. Feijuan couldn't attack Zhang Yang for a long time, and was a little impatient, so he yelled at Deidara, "Hey! Are you here to watch the show?" Sorry, I had a cramp in my hand when I was playing with you just now, and I can't eat clay all the time. You can't blame me. Besides, you are immortal. What are you afraid of?" He scolded. "Cut, now that I know asking for help, I don't have the attitude to ask for help. Let's eat and suffer, idiot." Feijuan didn't expect Deidara to have this attitude, so he was distracted in a fit of rage, and his left hand was chopped off by Zhang Yang. "Ah, it hurts," Feijuan shouted. Zhang Yang just wanted to breathe a sigh of relief, but he saw something that made him horrified. There were actually some hair-like filaments in Feijuan's broken arm. They were quickly connected together, and then Feijuan's arm was sewed up again. I didn't expect this ghost in Jiaodu to be so effective. As expected, he is my good partner. He can help me even when we are not together, unlike some people, Feijuan said. What exactly is going on? Why did Jiaodu's ability appear at this time? Is he around? Zhang Yang looked around subconsciously and found that there was no one else here. Don't look for it, it's just the 2 of us here. Feijuan explained to him. After fighting with Asma's gang last time, Jiaodu put one of his heart in my body, although it feels like it's disgusting, but it makes sure he can sew my body when he's not there. I have to say, with his help, the coordination of the body is greatly increased. No wonder, they should have planned before they came. Everyone's abilities should have been improved, and their weaknesses should have been improved. The current Shao organization, the strength has long been doubled, or even more. Deidara was still leisurely watching their battle with Erlang's legs in the air. He didn't go down so easily because he could easily observe Zhang Yang's weaknesses. A heart, after all, it is Lektu. In addition, this kid just blocked his own explosion with a tail beast. It seems that he is also a personal pillar, and he can't take it lightly. At this moment, in a chaotic space with no world and only countless white platforms, Lin Xiaoyu and Itachi met here. You are really not an ordinary person. You can enter and leave this space at will. Fighting techniques, illusions, and ninjutsu can't attack you. Although you don't have chakra and don't know any fighting skills, you are still a very strong person. Itachi has seen everything about Lin Xiaoyu, but he still doesn't know what her purpose is. The question I asked you last time, have you figured out how to answer it? Lin Xiaoyu was expressionless, and seemed more ruthless than she was just now. Chapter 370. Where did it come from? At this time, the space where Itachi and Lin Xiaoyu were located was a space created by Obito with divine power. There was nothing but some white plains. To enter the space of Shenwei, you must have the 2 bloody eyes of Obito. There are only 2 people in the entire ninja world who can enter. One is Obito himself, and the other is the Konoha ninja who has a bloody eye of Obito. Kakashi. And this little girl named Lin Xiaoyu can come in and out of this place at will without the need for blood-round eyes at all. She seems to have broken the rules of this world in a certain sense. Like Zhang Yang, you are from the outside world. Itachi knows her identity very well. Can you tell me your purpose? Uchiha Itachi, I must first admit your strength and brain. The permanent kaleidoscope blood wheel eye. One can only activate the illusion moon reading, and the other can activate the black flame Amaterasu, when these 2 abilities are activated at the same time. You can also activate another secret technique of the Uchiha family, Susanoo. With an 8-foot mirror and a 10-fist sword, Susanoo can be described as an invincible existence, and you can absolutely defend against the 8-foot mirror and the 10-fist sword that conceal everything. You seem to be invulnerable. Lin Xiaoyu said plainly. It seems that you know me well. I'm just curious, the people who can persuade Orochimaru and Uchiha Obito must not be as simple as just talking with their mouths. Itachi said. But you also have weaknesses, not the weaknesses of ninjutsu, but the weaknesses of human nature. Lin Xiaoyu said, the person you love the most is your younger brother Sasuke Uchiha. If you threaten you with him, will you compromise? What? It's not necessary, people are mortal. Itachi didn't seem to like this. Tell me your purpose directly, maybe I will help you. Why help me? Lin Xiaoyu asked. You are an outsider, I can't imagine what you want from this world. Itachi said. Lin Xiaoyu smiled wryly, and a tired look appeared in her eyes. After coming to the world of Naruto for so long, she has always been performing, playing an innocent girl, playing a ruthless scheming person, or playing a foreign god who pretends to be a high-profile alien. She is really tired. Traveler, these 3 words are not as fun and interesting as they seem. There are many travelers in Lin Xiaoyu's world. They will travel to other worlds from time to time, including the world of novels, the world of movies, and anime. World. Even if these worlds were originally created by them, these worlds still exist, so other worlds are everywhere. As long as someone can imagine a huge and reasonable space world, it will really exist. It's not the first time that Lin Xiaoyu has crossed. Her life seems to be manipulated, she constantly travels to various worlds, and only after completing the so-called tasks can she return to her real world. She will be forced to cross again. It's really bad to change to a life where anyone will get tired and can't make up their own minds. This time in the Naruto world, she has only one task, and the task of destroying this world is completed, and then she can return to her own world. Lin Xiaoyu complained that this kind of inhuman task can only be thought of by gods who are full and have nothing to do. She once understood, like other transmigrators, that gods really exist. These gods have the ability to create the world. They can place anyone in any world at will by simply tapping some blocks, similar to setting programs with their fingers. What is the purpose of doing this? Just for entertainment. Let other gods watch. Watch what kind of senseless resistance or so-called tasks these poor people can make when they are manipulated at will. Some people resisted, did nothing, failed to complete the task God gave them, and when the time was up, they disappeared. It is not death, it is disappearing, without name and identity, without body and soul, as if it never appeared in this world. It was erased without a trace. 1 second, Lin Xiaoyu still remembered that he had a partner who had crossed over with him. The next second, because of his resistance, he thought that he would be able to return to the real world by committing suicide. As a result, the next second, Lin Xiaoyu could no longer remember his name. And the appearance, only a vague outline in her mind. It didn't take long for it to disappear. But this was a long time ago, and Lin Xiaoyu couldn't remember it. Facing Itachi's words, I can't imagine what you can get in this world. Lin Xiaoyu really can't explain. She doesn't want anything, she just wants to live, she wants to be remembered by people. Lin Xiaoyu, not just a flash in the pan. She obeys the will of those gods, no matter how she travels around, no matter what task she completes, no matter what she does, she has only one purpose. I just want to go home. Lin Xiaoyu said to Itachi, I have nothing else to ask for. What are the conditions for going home? Itachi doesn't know what kind of person Lin Xiaoyu is, but she has to gather the strength of these strong people to go home. It's definitely not going home in name. There must be something difficult to achieve. The condition, perhaps this condition is cruel enough. Destroy the world. Lin Xiaoyu added again, destroy your world. Itachi was silent. For such a purpose, he would never help her. Your world is just created by us. Can you understand the word virtual? It doesn't exist, everything is illusory. Lin Xiaoyu said, a man named Masashi Kishimoto created the world of Naruto, so you are all fictional characters, even if they are all destroyed, so what, you do not exist in the first place. Quote. What about you? Itachi stared at Lin Xiaoyu's eyes with a hint of, poor, aren't you also created? This time, Lin Xiaoyu was speechless. You are like a god to the people in our world, but don't you call those who control your life a god? Itachi said sharply, you said that our existence is meaningless, since there is no why do you have to create meaning? Since all created things have no meaning, what qualifications do you have to say the word meaning when you are created? Quote. I'm not the same as you. Lin Xiaoyu became angry. You guys are just anime characters, I'm a human. A living person. No matter what you are created. Itachi continued. I don't know what happened to your negative psychology, but everyone has pain, and even pain has meaning. I have nothing to say to you. Since you don't eat toast, don't blame me for using tough methods. Lin Xiaoyu's face was fierce, and even his tone of voice changed. Chapter 371. Madara Uchiha's Strength. While Zhang Yang and Feijuan were still fighting, the building suddenly shook violently, continuous dust fell from the top, the surrounding columns began to break, and large cracks appeared on the walls. They must have started. Deidara sat on the big bird and flew out. Feijuan and Zhang Yang didn't fight, and hurriedly evacuated here and ran to the open space outside. The moment they just went out, the building collapsed, and at the same time, a dozen figures could be seen jumping from the sky. Zhang Yang was dumbfounded when he saw it. He knew the 5 shadows and their guards, but the other members of the Xiao organization wearing red clouds and black robes really surprised him. Boy, your opponent is here. Feijuan shouted and waved his sickle to attack Zhang Yang. There is no other way, I can only solve it here first. Zhang Yang rubbed a spiral pill in his hand and rushed up. On the other hand, their respective battles have also unfolded. Scorpio vs. Kankuro and Tamari, Kakato vs. Kuroto and Akatsuki, Kisha vs. Ao and Nagujiro, Obito vs. Kakashi and Kai, and Orochimaru vs. Wu Film. Of course, it is impossible for Orochimaru to fight in person. He made a seal on his hands and used his most proud forbidden technique, reincarnation of the dirt. The 4 coffins slowly rose from the soil, and the undead in the ground were summoned again. They were in order: Junmalu, Chongo, Shuiyu, Xiangling, and the last, and the most heavyweight ninja, Madara Uchiha. When Madara Uchiha was reincarnated, all the ninjas present except Akatsuki were shocked. This ninja who existed in the early days of Konoha's establishment now appeared in front of them, and despite being mentally prepared, they still felt their scalps tingle. Madara looked at her body and the chaotic scene around her and asked, where is this place? I wasn't resurrected by Nagato, what happened to this body? Uchiha Madara, you were not resurrected by Rinnegan, but reincarnated in the dirt. Orochimaru explained, you don't need to know anything, just kill the 5 shadows in front of you. Who are you? Dare to talk to me like this? Madara Uchiha just wanted to teach Orochimaru a lesson, but found that he couldn't move at all. This technique. That's right, I'm under my control. Unless I release the reincarnation of the dirty earth, no one can release it. Orochimaru explained, it doesn't matter who I am, okay, let's go. Madara Uchiha's body moved on his own. As he moved toward the 5 shadows, he launched a ninjutsu, fire escape. Extinguishing fire, converted a large amount of chakra into flames and released them, forming a huge wall of flames toward Wying. Shadow approaches. At this moment, Mizukage Terumi took the lead in rushing to the front of the team, formed a seal with both hands, and released ninjutsu, water escape. Water column. A large amount of columnar water was released from his mouth, completely offsetting Uchiha Madara's arrogant fire. In the next 2 days, Tuiying and Onogi were not to be outdone. First, he used the super light and heavy rock technique on himself to make himself rise into the air, and then locked on Uchiha Madara to launch ninjutsu, dust escape. The technique of peeling off the realm. The second generation of Taingwu uses blood to eliminate the dust escape created by chakra, which combines the 3 attributes of earth, wind and fire. It can separate the attack target into an atomic state and disappear directly into this world. The cylindrical principle of realm peeling quickly moved towards Madara Uchiha, forcing him to stop and activate the seal of sealing. He directly blocked Onogi's dust escape with his hand and completely absorbed his ninjutsu. Tokage, can you reduce the weight of the surrounding sand? I need to operate a lot of sand. Gaara said at this time. No problem. Onogi launched the ultra-light heavy rock technique, again. Sure enough, Gaara felt that all the sand around him had become almost weightless, like air. He immediately launched the ninjutsu, Quicksand Storm, turning the entire land under Madara Uchiha's feet into a desert. The power of quicksand attracted Madara Uchiha and dragged him into the desert, and then Gaara launched Sandstorm Burial. All objects covered by the desert will be crushed to pieces. Before Tsunade and I could make a move, Madara Uchiha was subdued, and I hummed disdainfully, "It's vulnerable." But Tsunade doesn't think so. Madara Uchiha is a ninja who fought against his grandfather, the first Hokage Chisho, and shouldn't be so weak. Seeing such a scene, Suzuki's legs were so frightened that he asked Orochimaru, "What's the situation?" Seeing Madara Uchiha being defeated, Junmaro said to Orochimaru, "Lord Orochimaru, should we go now?" Shigego also said, "Okay." "No, don't underestimate Madara Uchiha, he was just warming up, he hasn't shown his strength yet, it's the official start now," Orochimaru said. Sure enough, there was movement in the desert where Madara Uchiha had just been buried. After a violent vibration, a giant blue hand emerged from the desert. "This is Susanoo of the Uchiha family," Tsunade exclaimed. Immediately afterwards, a huge blue human skeleton crawled out of the soil, and in the middle of the blue skeleton was the indifferent Madara Uchiha. "Is this the strength of the current 5 shadows?" Madara Uchiha sneered. "Bring out all of your strength, this level of attack is simply a pediatrician." "Cut, stop looking down on people," Oyemu said. "Isn't this the big wild wood kid? He has become a movie." Uchiha Madara teased, "Do you want to be defeated by me again? Although he's a good man, it's better to melt you." As Terumi said, she launched a blood-based limit ninjutsu attack, melting. Dissolving monsters. She mixed fire and earth chakras. Spit out viscous and super corrosive magma from its mouth. This kind of magma is soluble and solid, and can be used in a wide range, which is not inferior to Gaara's quicksand storm. The magma spit toward Uchiha Madara, and he hurriedly avoided it. He didn't expect that there was still a little sticky on Susanoo, and as a result, one of Susanoo's ribs was melted by the super corrosiveness. "It's a tricky technique." Madara Uchiha said that he brought Susanoo to the top of his strength, so Susanoo, who originally only had a skeleton, quickly extended meridians and armor, and put on a mask, becoming a blue giant in ancient armor and wings. Next, 2 more swords appeared in the blue giant's hand. He waved the sword, and a powerful blue chakra came towards the 5 shadows. Gaara hurriedly used the so-called Shokrane shield, which was called Absolute Defense. It used chakra to melt minerals deep in the ground into the sand, and condensed a huge and sturdy statue of Shokrane. Chapter 372-373, Siblings Join Forces. Kankuro and Temari were still somewhat nervous when faced with the rebellious ninja from Sandian Village in the Land of Winds. After all, Scorpion, the legendary puppet genius ninja, did some frightening things back then. The Scorpion is known as the Genius Puppet Master, the Scorpion of Red Sand. Killed by Sakumo Hatake, the father of the Leaf Ninja Kakashi. Later, he made 2 puppets named Father and Mother, according to the appearance of his parents to appease his lonely soul. Since then, Scorpion has devoted all his interest in making puppets, and this hobby has gradually become deformed and terrible, because he began to make puppets with living people. Later, due to the worsening behavior, many living people were used by him to make puppets, so he was ordered to be hunted down by the Kingdom of Wind, and then he became a rebel and joined the Akatsuki organization. Temari, don't be careless, he has the ability to destroy a country. Kankuro summoned the puppet crow and was ready to fight the Scorpion. Although he was a very terrifying opponent, he couldn't just admit it. I know. Temari was also sweating. It was the first time he faced such an enemy, and he might have died. Is it a kid from Sandian Village? Scorpio asked when he saw the puppet used by Kankuro. Is that my crow? Yes, Senior. Kankuro still respects Scorpion. After all, he is a puppet boss, and he is considered his senior. He continued. After you left, the puppets you made will be collected by me. Come on, let me see how your puppet technique is. Scorpion said. Tamari, I'll attack, you cover. Kankuro said, then you'll be embarrassed, senpai. Be careful. Tamari stood behind him, taking cover at all times. After Kankuro finished speaking, he manipulated the crow to launch an attack first. Black secret technique. Hand dagger. A poisonous dagger was shot from the crow's wrist and flew towards the scorpion. Scorpion was still in the body of the puppet Fei Liuhu at the moment, and he unhurriedly stretched out Fei Liuhu's hard tail, easily blocking Kankuro's attack. To him, this attack was like a fight between children. It was too childish. Next, he had to make Kankuro take it seriously. So the scorpion also launched an attack. Fei Liuhu. 8 waves of needles. Immediately, a high density of poisonous needles and stingers were shot from the mouth of Fei Liuhu's puppet, with a wide range and high speed. Seeing that the situation was not good, Kankuro hurriedly summoned another puppet Sanjiao to block in front of him, while Tamari waved a giant fan and used a wind escape to defend all the scorpion's attacks. Sanshoyu, you seem to be good at using puppets. Scorpion praised Kankuro. Well, this is a defensive puppet made by Senior. Kankuro said. Okay, then let me see what else you will use. Scorpion said. However, Kankuro fell into a bad premonition, because even if he launched any puppet technique, the scorpion could evade and defend, and the scorpion's attack required him and Tamari to defend together. In terms of strength, the scorpion is really tall them too much. There is no way, as the object of his worship, only defeating him is the highest respect. Since the long-range attack is unsatisfactory, it is better to fight at close range. Kankuro put a long chakra line, manipulated the crow to approach the scorpion, and started a close-quarters battle with him. Just as the crow and Hiryuhu were in close combat, Tamari was thinking about how to defeat the scorpion. Although Kankuro asked him to cover, but in the current situation, Kankuro is not the opponent of the scorpion at all. Or the talent of manipulating the puppet technique, and it is obviously much more powerful than the scorpion. Because the movement made by Uchiha Madara was too great, they had to avoid attacks in all directions and distance themselves from Uchiha Madara. I don't know what Gaara's situation is now. If the scorpion keeps delaying time, maybe Gaara will be in danger. Then she is a K's guard and has a great responsibility, not to mention she is Gaara's sister. So she suggested to Kankuro, who was sweating profusely beside him, can you try to entangle him? I'll attack with the wind. It's not easy. I learned the way the scorpion looked from my mother-in-law Chio, and it's not like this at all. He must have transformed his body to become like a puppet, capable of both offense and defense. While operating the puppet, he said, and the crow's body is too small, there is no way to grab such a big scorpion, even the black ants can't trap him. Then what should I do? Tamari asked anxiously. Gaara. Now I can't attack the scorpion at close range. There should be many organs on his body, so he can't get close to it easily. Kankuro analyzed. It's very easy to dodge him from a long-distance attack. It's very difficult, but it's not impossible. Afraid of fire escape. Fire. But the others have been scattered to various areas, and they are all fighting hard. Tamari said. That's not what I meant. Kankuro pursed his lips and smiled bitterly. The crow has been transformed by me, and there are a lot of detonating charms in its body, which can only be used as a last resort. Kankuro. Of course Tamari knew how important the puppet crow was to Kankuro, and destroying his favorite treasure now is not something ordinary people can do. Although it is very reluctant, but there is no way, now is the time of last resort. Kankuro made up his mind. If the puppet is gone, it can be made again. If the person is gone, it will never come back. I see. Tamari nodded, proud of his brother's realization. Next, help me attack the scorpion, and let him try not to be on the ground. As long as he jumps up in the air, the crow will have a chance to catch him. Kankuro said. Understood. After saying that, Tamari opened the giant fan, ready to attack. Scorpion saw what they were murmuring and discussing, and at this time another female ninja was also taking action. He kept his mind and was careful. Wind escape. Wind cut. Temari waved a huge fan, incorporating chakra into the fan, and using the air to create a thin air blade. This move can easily cut off the enemy's flesh and blood, and can also effectively separate the airflow or dense fog. The extremely fast, wind done. Kaze soon came to the side of the scorpion. The scorpion could only defend against the crow's attack while moving his body to avoid Temari's feng done. Wind escape. Kaze cut was constantly being activated by Temari, and Scorpion was a little irritable to hide and hide. It seemed that this ninja was very strong, so she was very in the way, so Scorpion quickly locked the target on Konkuro's side. On Temari's body. Chapter 374, The Scorpion of the Red Sand. Scorpion moved towards her while avoiding Shumaru's Feng Dun attack, and then launched a puppet technique, Fei Liuhu. Tail stab on the back. From the grimace-shaped hole behind Fei Liuhu, he stretched out a hole made of steel. The highly poisonous scorpion tail quickly stretched out and stabbed Temari. Temari didn't have time to swing the fan and dodge, and he was about to be stabbed by the tail of the scorpion. At the critical moment, Konkuro hurriedly operated the puppet Sanjiao fish with one hand, and quickly pulled the Sanjiao fish to the front of Temari. The scorpion tail instantly pierced through Konkuro's defensive puppet, the Sanjiao fish. This is the puppet with the strongest defense ability. It was pierced so easily. Konkuro was only surprised and sighed. The red sand scorpion really lived up to its reputation. Temari had time to block the giant fan in front of his chest because of Konkuro's Sanjiao fish, barely resisting the sharp tip of the scorpion's tail, but fortunately escaped the catastrophe. Scorpion saw Konkuro's confusion and explained to him, "The Sanjiao fish was originally a puppet I made, and no one knows its abilities and weaknesses better than me. As long as you attack its weakest point, you can easily do it. Break it." At this moment, Konkuro smiled and said to Scorpion, "You are indeed a senior, but you are too careless." As soon as he finished speaking, the crow he had secretly manipulated just now was pulled behind the scorpion. Konkuro quickly launched a puppet technique, Black Secret Technique. The machete stabbed Fei Liuhu's body in the form of left and right flanking attacks. But it's not over yet. These 6 scimitars are actually connected with chakra lines. Konkuro pulls hard, and the crow moves along the chakra lines on the scimitars to Fei Liuhu's back, killing him to death. Catch. Temari, dodge, Konkuro yelled. Temari understood and hurried away from the crow and the scorpion, and then Konkuro launched a ninjutsu. The detonating charm hidden in the crow exploded rapidly. The strong fire and heat wave indicated that the power of the explosion was enough to blow Hiruhu to pieces. The smoke of gunpowder was everywhere. Konkuro sighed as he looked at the crows and Sanjiao fish whose shapes were no longer clearly visible in the flames. Success. Temari couldn't believe it, but the other party was the genius puppet master known as the Scorpion of Red Sand. Sure enough, a clear man's voice came from the flames. "Ha ha ha ha, 2 times, it can actually hurt me to this point." What? Konkuro looked at the dark figure standing up from the fire in disbelief, not in the shape of Fei Liuhu at all, alive. "I'm afraid this is the real scorpion," Temari said. "He's just been hiding in Fei Liuhu's body. Konkuro, don't be careless, the real battle begins now." After the smoke cleared, a red-haired man appeared. What made people shudder was that although the body of the scorpion was in the shape of a human, it could be seen from the tattered clothes that his body was actually made by a puppet. Scorpion laughed and pulled out a scroll from the back of the body, opened it horizontally, and summoned the 3 generations of Fengying puppets. Legend has it that the 3 generations of Fengying disappeared from Cheyenne village more than 10 years ago. The elders in the village thought he was kidnapped, but no matter how much they looked, they could not find him. Konkuro was still young at the time and learned about it from his father's conversations with others. Unexpectedly, the 3 generations of Fengying who were thought to be missing were actually killed by the scorpion and made into a puppet. No wonder they couldn't even find the body. 3 generations of Fengying is the most proud collection of the scorpion, although it is a collection, but it is also a powerful puppet. It can stretch out a lot of big knives in its right hand, and the combination of knives greatly expands the attack range. It is difficult for ordinary people to avoid it, and it can easily smash Fei Liuhu's steel tail. The left hand can be transformed into a huge number of puppet arms by spells, and there are many poisonous organs hidden in the arms. Especially the left hand has a rotating gear composed of 8 machetes, which is very powerful. What's even more dangerous is that the 3 generations of Kazekage have the bloodline limit, which can convert the highly condensed chakra into magnetic force. This is a technique that he obtained by combining the ninjutsu of the former Aikijuru Jinzuli with his own magnetic chakra, which can make the sand iron change into various forms at will to attack the enemy. And once the small sand iron enters the body of the puppet can be completely paralyzed. Therefore, when Kankuro saw the appearance of the 3 generations of Kazekage, even if it was a puppet, he lost his confidence in an instant, because his puppet technique was no longer useful. No wonder Scorpion has always regarded the 3 generations of Fengyiang as the most proud collection, this kind of puppet that can paralyze other people's puppets, while their own is intact, so that any puppet master is afraid of Scorpion. Let you see what the eternal art is, Scorpion said, and then controlled the 3 generations of Kazekage to launch an attack, Sand and Iron Rain. And wide-ranging attacks. This fine sand iron can also be transformed from granular to needle-like according to the will of the manipulation, which is extremely fast. Seeing that Kankuro couldn't move anymore, Tamari stood in front of him and launched a ninjutsu. Wind, sand and dust. Tai Shiu, all bounced back. Tamari then pursued the victory, biting his thumb, drawing a contract on the fan with blood, and then launching ninjutsu, the art of psychic. Kadori. Kadori is Tamari's psychic art, a one-eyed Itachi with a sickle many times larger than his body, and his movements are very agile. It waved the giant fan with Tamari, and then rode on the storm created by the giant fan, rushing towards the Scorpion at an astonishing speed. The Scorpion took no hassle and controlled the 3 generations of wind shadow puppets, condensing the sand and iron into a super dense sand iron barrier, blocking it in front of him. With a loud bang, the wind tunnel hit the sand iron barrier without causing any damage. However, at this moment, Dolly jumped over the sand iron barrier with a kick of both legs, carrying a giant sickle down from the sky, aiming at the head of the Scorpion and swinging the sickle down. It's a pity that the Scorpion has already budgeted to this step, and moved a part of the sand and iron around him in advance in order to protect his body in time. The sand iron quickly condensed and blocked the Scorpion's head, blocking the attack of the giant sickle. The sickle is very agile, twisting the body to move behind the Scorpion, swinging the sickle horizontally again, trying to cut the Scorpion horizontally. However, the Scorpion did not intend to consume it any longer. He manipulated the sand iron to transform it into a sharp awl shape and stabbed Dolly on the sickle quickly. Kadori was attacked to the point where he could only retreat first, and disappeared after a puff of white smoke. Even Kamdori has been defeated, and the situation is not good. Tamari said. He turned to look at Kankuro, found that he was still dumbfounded, and scolded, "Cheer up. It's not over yet." Chapter 375, Shark Muscle vs. Flounder. Just as Scorpion and Kazekage were fighting, about a few hundred meters to the southeast of them, Akatsuki's ghost shark and Mizukage's guards Chengjiro and Ao moved here, and they formed a battle area here. Ching is a person who has experienced the Third Ninja War, and has also heard about the ghost shark. I heard that before he became a rebel ninja, he was a trusted subordinate of the water puffer ghost in the village of Wuing, the country of water. Hidden Village performs diligently and often completes some very difficult tasks. It is rumored that the dried persimmon ghost shark is cruel by nature and is very cruel to the enemy. In order to prevent the information from being leaked, he can kill his own companions. Later, for unknown reasons, the ghost shark was suspected of killing the daimyo of the Land of Water, and became a wanted S-class fugitive for serious crimes such as obstructing the country and sabotaging the work of the country. Later, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer ghost died inexplicably, and the whereabouts of the ninja sword in his hand was also unknown. Ching looked at the big sword that the ghost shark was carrying on his shoulder. Although it was tightly wrapped by the white cloth, it was not difficult to see that it was a shark muscle big sword by its shape and length. It turned out that the shark muscle sword of the pufferfish ghost in Watermelon Mountain was taken away by the ghost shark, which means that the person who killed him was the ghost shark. Hey, the shark muscle sword in your hand was stolen from someone else, right? Ching said to the ghost shark unceremoniously. Do the people from Xiao's organization do something like this? The ghost shark sneered, not intending to explain anything to him. Back then, I worked so hard to complete the task for the country of water, and I experienced countless escapes from death, and made a lot of contributions to the country, but in the end, I got the title of destroying the country. And the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, who he trusted most, actually cooperated with the enemy and betrayed the country and sold information to other countries, all of which were unacceptable for ghost sharks at that time. Later, he killed the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, got his shark muscle broadsword, and when he was about to roam the world, the fourth generation of Mizukage Yakura appeared in front of him. The ghost shark confided his pain to him, lamenting that he who existed for the reason of killing was actually a false existence. However, after that, a figure with a blood wheel eye came out from behind Yakura, calling himself Madara Uchiha, and drew him to join the Akatsuki organization, and told himself the Moon Eye plan. The ghost shark, who had already lost hope for the world and humanity, was very pleased with the Moon Eye project, so he joined Akatsuki without hesitation. But the ghost shark knows that it is not necessary, and there is no need to explain all this to them, because they will be killed by themselves immediately. It's not like that. At this time, Chojuro, who was watching very nervously, said to Ao. He heard that the shark muscle was originally a small fish that followed Sano Isofu's stomach all the year round, and was responsible for helping Sano Isofu to clean up the remnants and absorb food from the belly of the three tails, thereby extracting a large amount of chakra. Then he is responsible for sending the chakra back to the body of the three tails. The ability of the shark muscle is that it can extract more than 5 times the amount of chakra from normal food, and the chakra stored in the shark muscle will continue to provide it with chakra when the three tails fight. So Chenjuro explained to Ao, the shark muscle is not so much a knife as it is a creature. All creatures are spiritual. It recognizes the owner and can follow the ghost shark, which shows that the shark muscle is real. Take him as a master. The ghost shark looked at Chenjuro, who was trying to defend him. He was wearing glasses and had a shy personality. He noticed the bandaged knife on his back, which was also one of the 7 knives of the 7 ninja swordsmen. It's called flounder. The flounder is a fish-shaped knife made of 2 symmetrical knives, which is very powerful. The ghost shark didn't expect that he could meet Chenjuro, one of the 7 people of the ninja sword, here, and couldn't help but get excited. The flounder on your body, its original owner, Gaidong Manu, is a ninja who can skillfully use the 7 ninja knives. He is very strong. I don't know if you are worthy of the name of the 7 ninja knives. Ghost Shark's face showed a chilling smile. Chojuro calmed down and said, I will try my best. Ao, who was beside him, couldn't stand it any longer, and knocked Chenjuro on the head hard, and said angrily, Hey, why are you being so polite to the enemy? Hurry up and fight quickly, and then protect Mizukage-sama. When Chenjuro thought of Mizukage-sama, who was not only beautiful but also gentle to him, a confidence surged in his heart. He was determined to protect Mizukage-sama with all his might. Master Ching, be careful, the ability of the shark muscle is to absorb chakra, and its appetite is amazing. Try not to let yourself come into contact with it, otherwise the chakra of the 2 of us alone is not enough for it to get stuck in the teeth. While reminding, Chenjuro took the flounder from behind, and gradually poured his chakra into the flounder, and the flounder slowly glowed and swelled. I know that there is chakra flowing from the ghost shark in the shark muscle. Several muscles bulged around the right eye that was covered by the blindfold, which was the trophy he got after fighting against the Konoha Hyuga clan. White eye is one of the 3 major pupil techniques. It has a 360-degree angle of view. It can see the flow of chakra in the surrounding environment, and it can adjust the focal length to see the situation in the distance, and can see through objects. The most important thing is to see the meridian nerves and acupuncture points of the human body. The Hyuga clan became a powerful family of Konoha by relying on their white eyes, combined with Jujutsu's acupuncture points. Interesting, Ghost Shark said with a smile. I want to see who is stronger and who is weaker between Shark Muscle and Flounder. After he finished speaking, the Ghost Shark rushed towards them with the Shark Muscle broadsword. As the only weapon to use, Chojuro was very worried about whether he could fight the Ghost Shark, but he bravely stepped forward to face it. The moment the Shark Muscle and the Flounder collided, the two ninjas, both holding 2 of the 7 ninja knives, are about to start a historic confrontation at this moment. Sure enough, the ability of the Shark Muscle was revealed at this time, and Chojuro could clearly feel that his Flounder broadsword was gradually shrinking in size, while the opposite Shark Muscle was gradually increasing. Chojuro opened the distance from the Ghost Shark, and in order not to lose too much chakra, he must avoid touching the Shark Muscle sword. Ching also saw Chojuro's chakra being absorbed by the Shark Muscle sword with his white eyes, and it was also transported into the Ghost Shark's body. It seems that a protracted battle is not good for them. Once the chakra is absorbed, there will be a dead end. In order to help Chojuro fight and distract the Ghost Shark, I'll use the water escape. Water body technique, summoning 3 of his own water bodies and joining the battle between them. However, the Ghost Shark's combat experience is very rich, and being surrounded by a few people can't make him excited, especially when he is a clone, so he swung a big knife and Ching's clones were all destroyed. Chapter 376, Plan. Not only that, the chakra in the green clone was also absorbed by the Shark Muscle, and it gradually grew stronger, and the bandage could not wrap the body of the Shark Muscle, so it fell off, revealing that it was shaking with excitement because it had absorbed the chakra. Shark Muscle. Chojuro also realized that he couldn't fight for a long time, so he quickly launched ninjutsu, Flamfish. Liberate. The Flounder injected into Chojuro's chakra transformed the chakra into a gaseous light ball and released it towards the ghost. The Ghost Shark blocked the Shark Muscle sideways in front of him, but at the moment when the light ball touched the Shark Muscle, the Ghost Shark was directly knocked out by a huge force dozens of meters away, and he still used the Shark Muscle. Block it, and 2 deep marks have been drawn on the ground under the feet. As expected of a Flounder, the power is indeed quite strong. Ghost Shark said, but unfortunately, no matter what kind of ninjutsu, as long as it is released through chakra, it will definitely be absorbed by the Shark Muscle. He was right, the Shark Muscle had absorbed the chakra for a while at this time, and the light ball released by the Flounder gradually diminished until it disappeared after the chakra was absorbed by the Shark Muscle. Chojuro, don't waste your chakra in vain. Ching said anxiously, only illusion and fighting techniques can deal with Ghost Sharks, but we are not good at these 2 techniques. Nagjiro was panting, his hands holding the Flounder were already sweating from Vivi. He injected too much chakra just now. He wanted to give it a shot, but it didn't work. The Shark Muscle deserves to be ranked 2nd among the 7 ninja knives. Yes, the strength is not bad. Master Ching, I have a plan. Nagjiro said suddenly at this time. If you want to defeat Mr. Oni Shark, you can only find a way to separate him from the Shark Muscle. Without the Oni Shark to absorb chakra, we will have a chance to defeat him. Mr. Ghost Shark. The tendons on Ao's forehead bulged, and he punched Chojuro on the head again, cursing, I told you not to be so respectful to the enemy. Sorry. Chojuro blushed and scratched his head. Forget it, let's not correct this first. Tell me, what's the plan? Ching sighed helplessly, and then said sternly, actually, I also have a plan, but I will listen to you first. After all, it was the same kind of ninja sword. Shark Muscle seemed to enjoy the Flounder and Chojuro's chakra so much that he opened his mouth with joy, as if he wanted to eat the Flounder in one bite. The Ghost Shark has not seen the state of the Shark Muscle for a long time, and he can't help but be infected and excited. He is also a little bit interested in this battle that can almost be crushed. Soon, the person on the opposite side rushed over again, but to the surprise of the Ghost Shark, this time it was Ching who did not have any weapons. However, the Ghost Shark soon discovered that the boy of Chojuro was holding the Flounder with both hands, staring at him nervously. It seemed that the front one was pretending to attack, and the back one was really going to shoot. Although the position was changed, the ghost shark still ignored them, waving the shark muscle that had swelled to a large extent and rushed towards Ching. Seeing that the shark muscle was about to wave to his head, Ching then took out the kunwu from his waist to block his head, but only when the kunwu touched the shark muscle. Ching also instantly felt his body suddenly numb, chakra is being absorbed by it. And Ching, who has white eyes, now looks up at the shark muscle, and can clearly see how his chakra flows in the shark muscle. At this time, the ghost shark launched a ninjutsu, shark muscle. Flying chain cut. The shark muscle knife handle suddenly stretched more than 10 meters, wrapped around Ching's back like an iron cable, and pierced his body violently. Fresh blood sprayed out of Ching's body immediately, followed by a crash. Ching's body actually melted crookedly. Water dungeons. Ghost Shark turned his head sharply, and saw Ching jumping up behind him, holding a detonating talisman with Kuwujung in his hand and threw it towards him. The ghost shark hurriedly turned around and waved his arm to pull the shark muscle back, trying to prepare to use it to block Ching's detonating talisman. However, at this moment, Oni Shark heard Noguro suddenly activate ninjutsu, Flamfish. Liberation. In an instant, an ultra-thin blade of light was released from the flounder and flew towards Oni Shark's arm at a fast speed. Come over. It turns out that the ghost shark now understands their attack mode. It is to let Ao come over to distract him first, and then the kid from Chengjiro releases a light blade to cut off his arm. Their purpose is to let themselves and the shark muscle separate. Seeing that the light blade was about to cut off Oni Shark's arm, at this moment, something unexpected happened to Ao and Chengjiro. The shark muscle actually moved in front of the ghost shark's wrist on his own initiative, blocking Chengjiro's light blade for him. On the other hand, the ghost shark jumped up, did a backflip and kicked Kuei to Ching. The power that the ghost shark brought to kunai directly took Ching out several meters away. With a loud noise, Ching was blown to pieces and no one was seen. Master Ching. Chojuro knelt on the ground and shouted in pain, I am sorry. The shark muscle that blocked the light blade for the master was not so easy. The body was actually pulled out by the light blade. It seemed that this was the first time that the shark muscle was injured in the hands of the ghost shark. But there is nothing serious. It used the chakra on the light blade to repair and heal its body, and soon returned to its original state. Little devil, the shark muscle recognizes the master. You know this, but you still use this ridiculous method to attack me. It's stupid to the extreme. The ghost shark laughed. Do you think you are worthy of the flounder? Each of the 7 knives is a first-class master. The master of these 7 knives must also be very strong. You are small and weak, and it is not suitable for you to take it. Oni Shark walked towards Chengjiro while talking. After walking to Chengjiro, he raised his shark muscle and waved it heavily towards his head. However, Chengjiro fell into guilt towards Ao and did not do anything. Any evasive response. Boom. I saw that Ao, who was supposed to be killed by the explosive talisman, came out from behind Chengjiro covered in water, and then launched an attack on the shark muscle that was about to hit Chengjiro's head. Water escape. Qinglong is good at it. He concentrated the water-type chakra on his index finger, thrust it towards the shark muscle, and bounced it off Chengjiro's head. At the same time, Chojuro, who was still heartbroken just now, seemed to have changed into a different person. His sad eyes turned into serious ones, and he swung the flounder vigorously to knock the ghost fish out dozens of meters away. Great! Successful! Chojuro shouted happily. This shark muscle is too hard. Ching frantically swung the index finger he had just used to attack the shark muscle, and the pain made him burst into tears. It hurts. Master Ching, are you alright? Chojuro asked with concern. But then it's up to you. My finger feels broken. Ching said while holding back tears. Chapter 377, The Tailless Beast Ghost Shark. How's it going? Chojuro asked. As expected, my plan was successful. Ching rolled her eyes to observe for a while, then laughed. Next, you will attack, and I will cover. Understood. Chojuro clenched the flounder tightly and charged towards the ghost. The ghost shark that was knocked away by Chojuro stood up again. He moved his body and didn't feel any serious problems. Ordinary attacks couldn't hurt him at all. And when he saw Chojuro taking the initiative to attack him, he snorted disdainfully and stepped forward to meet him. When the two knives of shark muscle and flounder collided, the confrontation between the ninja knives unfolded again. But after a while, the ghost shark was surprised to find that the big sword of the muscle did not swell. Instead, the flounder of Chojuro was getting bigger and bigger, and the ghost shark actually felt a little difficult. The ghost shark, who sensed something was wrong, immediately distanced himself from Nogijiro, but Nogijiro was chasing after him, not giving him a chance to breathe at all. As the state of the flounder is getting better and better, and the size is getting bigger and bigger, almost twice the muscle of the shark, it seems that Chojuro has injected a lot of chakra into it. At this time, the ghost shark was getting more and more tired, and finally his physical fatigue made him understand the truth of the matter. Since the battle just now, his own shark muscle sword has not absorbed the opponent's chakra. While defending, the ghost shark saw Ao behind Chojuro, and vaguely found some clues. Since Ao came out from behind Chojuro by using a substitute technique and launched a ninja operation on the shark muscle just now, the shark muscle has never absorbed chakra again, indicating that it is the ghost of Ao. I understand, Oni Shark said to Chojuro while fighting with him. Your companions can use ninjutsu such as sealing acupuncture points. Yes, Master Ching has the white eyes of the Konoha Hyuga clan. He can clearly see the flow of chakra in the body, and naturally he can also see the meridians and acupuncture points in the body. Chojuro explained, the shark muscle is said to be ninja sword, but in fact it is also a living creature, so Master Ching sealed the acupuncture points on its body to block the chakra in its body, so it could not absorb my chakra for a while. Quote. No wonder, when Kong Ching came to attack him as the vanguard, he took out the kunai to block the shark muscle at a critical moment. It turned out that he had been observing the chakra flow of the shark muscle. Anyway, it's someone who has experienced war, don't look down on the old man. Ching sneered aside, since I got the white eye, how can such a good ability be wasted? So I also taught myself some ninjutsu to seal acupuncture points. It's really amazing, uncle, you have a lot of combat experience. Ghost Shark said with a smile. He knew that relying on shark muscles to absorb chakra was useless, and Chojuro's flounder was very powerful, so melee combat was very unfavorable to him. So the ghost shark slammed at Chojuro and launched a ninjutsu, water escape. The technique of the water shark. He instantly used chakra to create a shark-shaped water bomb to attack Chojuro. Chojuro hurriedly used the flounder to release a small ball of light, breaking the shark water bomb, and then launched ninjutsu again at the ghost shark, Flamfish. Liberate! The huge cylindrical beam of light shot at the ghost shark. The ghost shark blocked the front of his body with his shark muscle, and the huge shock wave sent him flying instantly. In fact, this was exactly what the ghost shark wanted. Since Chojuro was so tightly wrapped, it would be the same if he was thrown away, as long as he could pull it away. Distance is also good. Although the goal was achieved, the ghost shark also suffered a lot of internal injuries. Without the ability of the shark muscle to absorb chakra, this blow from the flounder has already beat the ghost shark to internal bleeding. Little devil, it seems that I was wrong before. You are indeed worthy of this ninja sword, but it's over, let you see what kind of strength I am, called the tailless beast. Said the ghost shark after wiping off the blood spilling from the corners of his mouth with his hands. He activated ninjutsu, shark muscle. Human body fusion. Then the shark muscle merged into the ghost shark's body, and his body gradually changed, growing a big tail. In the end, it became a half-man, half-fish appearance. Immediately afterwards, the ghost shark fused with the shark muscle, launched his lure, water escape. Water prison shark dance. Instantly, a large amount of water poured out from around him and fixed it into a huge oval water prison, wrapping Chojuro and Ching, and of course himself, but because of the state of fusion with the shark's muscle, the ghost shark's body has gills, so it can also breathe in the water. As the person in the Shao organization who is best at catching tailed beasts alive, this is the ninjutsu he is most proud of. He can trap the enemy in the area of this water prison. It is a pity that the acupoint of the shark muscle is blocked by Ching, otherwise you can also use this body to absorb the opponent's chakra in the water, and no one can escape from him. Chojuro and Ao, who were trapped in the water prison, felt suffocated because they couldn't breathe. They could only use chakra to recuperate in their bodies to prolong the time of holding their breath in the water. What an astonishing chakra, to be able to launch such a large-scale water area. Ching sighed in his heart, no wonder it was a tailless beast. Ao was still in a daze, but felt a force coming from his back, and when he looked back, it was Chojuro pulling him. Ao nodded, turned around and started to swim, following Chojuro trying to swim out of this huge water prison. But they have been swimming for a long time, but they haven't seen the edge of the water at all, and the ghost shark fused with the shark's muscles is extremely fast, and his body changes like this. It also has a great advantage in the water. Behind them, Ching used his white eyes to perceive that the surrounding waters were actually moving with them all the time. No, it was actually moving with the caster, the ghost shark, and the water dungeon with the ghost shark as the center. They couldn't swim out at all. If it was normal, the ghost shark would have rushed forward to hug them, and absorbed their chakra with the ability of the shark muscle, but now there is no way to do so. He is also afraid of the powerful attack of the flounder, and can only slow down and follow behind them, trying to consume their stamina, and then make another move to defeat the enemy. Ching was already exhausted for the first time and began to sink into the water. Seeing this, Chojuro hurried over to hold him, and if he was allowed to sink to the bottom, it would really be of no avail. Seeing this, the ghost shark felt that the time had come, so he swam forward at a fast speed, slammed into Chojuro, knocking him into the water and turning somersaults. As a result, Chojuro didn't catch it, and Ao slowly began to sink, and it sank to the ground after a while. Chojuro had no choice but to fight the ghost shark. He launched the Flamfish Liberation in the water, attacking the ghost shark with a light ball, but the ghost shark was very fast in the water, and it was very easy to avoid his attack. However, this blow made Chojuro think of a way to get himself out of trouble. The powerful recoil generated by the flounder attack is just enough to act as a force to push itself out of the water. So Nobjuro turned the flounder down and used his last strength to start ninjutsu. Chapter 378. The Man with the Monster Inside. Facing the members of Akatsuki's organization in front of them, Tsuchikage's guards Kuroto and Kitu felt a little sluggish, because they had just heard Konoha's Hokage escort Hataki Kakashi talk about this person's abilities, and the meeting was interrupted. But they still heard some surprising information, such as he once played against the first Hokage, he has 5 hearts in his body, and he can use the chakra of 5 attributes. What's his name? Kitu asked in a low voice. Jiaodu, Hei-tu replied. The background of Kakudo can be traced back to the early days of the establishment of ninja villages in various countries. As an elite ninja in Taki Ninja Village, he was arranged by his superiors to perform the task of assassinating the first generation of Naruto Senju, but as the god of ninjas, the first Naruto was not easily assassinated. In front of the secret escape technique, he was seriously injured and almost died. When he escaped back to the village with serious injuries, what awaited him was the stigma and punishment of failing the mission, and Jiaodu was put in prison, waiting to be executed. He was facing a desperate crisis, and in exchange for such an end, it was very cruel to Jiaodu, who had blocked his life for the sake of the village. After that, Jiaodu escaped from prison with strong resentment. He also took away the secret magic that the village regarded as a treasure, and took away the hearts of all the superiors in the village. Later, time slowly passed, and after a few ninja wars, Kakuto was invited to join the Akatsuki organization and became their treasury manager. I heard you're going to kill him 5 times, isn't it? Kai-tu asked. Will it be a bit difficult? I don't know, but I want to kill him as soon as possible, and then go to the big brother to catch up. Hei-tu didn't seem to pay attention to the corners. Big brother, did you mean Deidara? Kitu asked. Well, I don't know who he is fighting now, anyway, let's finish this side quickly. After Haito finished speaking, he didn't care about Kitu, so he rushed up to deal with Jiaodu first. Water escape. Water horn. In front of Jiaodu, Black Earth launched a ninjutsu. She condensed chakra in her throat, and then spit out a large amount of water shock waves to attack Jiaodu. Jiaodu was flexible and jumped backwards, easily dodging the attack of the black soil. Immediately afterwards, the black soil slapped his hand to the ground and activated his ninjutsu again. Done. Digging through the soil, a crater-like hole appeared from the bottom of Jiaodu, and then cement erupted out. When the corners fell to the ground, they just stepped on the cement, and their movement was restricted, unable to move. Shuiji limit. The little girl who responded well. Jiaodu didn't seem to take his situation seriously. Thank you for the compliment, but... Haito rushed towards Jiaodu, waved the sharp kunai in his hand, and said with a smile, I won't let you go because of this. Just when Kuei of Haito was about to cut off Jiaodu's head, Jiaodu's hand quickly formed a mark, and then he saw his two arms instantly turn black, and then a hand was placed on his neck, preventing him from attack. The other hand squeezed into a fist and swung it towards Haito's abdomen. Haito used one hand to block it, but the opponent's strength was surprisingly strong. After a violent punch, Haito was directly hit back to its original position. Haito got up with a painful look on his face. The strange thing is that his body was not injured much. He thought that this punch would directly bleed his internal organs. She saw that some rock fragments kept falling on the ground in her abdomen, and she immediately understood what was going on. Not bad, Kitu. When did you put the rock escape armor on me? Haito smiled and punched Kitu's big arm, praised, did you just talk to me? Otherwise, you are too impulsive. It is very dangerous to rush over without knowing all the situation of the enemy. Kitu said, and started ninjutsu. Done. Gangli style jutsu. He spat out of the rock figure who was only one head bigger than himself. Then he said, first attack from a distance and test the opponent's ability. It just so happened that he was trapped by my cement, and it was impossible to escape. Black Earth said. Although my gangly style technique is not as powerful as Lord Taiyang's rock golem, but at least it's not that bad. Kitu said, and controlled the rock statue to move towards Jiaodu. Jiao knew that he couldn't get out of this cement for a while, so he had to release two mask monsters to play with them. After that, Jiaodu took off the Akatsuki black robe, bowed down, and released the two masks on his back. One is a blue-faced monster with thin wings that can fly on four legs like an animal, can fly, and has a chakra attribute of wind. The other has a chubby body and a red lip masked monster with fire attribute chakra. The flying wind escape mask monster flapped its wings and quickly moved in front of the rock figure, opened its mouth and released an ultra-high density wind escape cannon, hitting the rock figure's face, directly blasting its head into pieces. However, as long as the terracotta mouth is still releasing rocks and is connected to the rock figure, it can continue to regenerate, and soon its head will grow out. While the wind escape mask monster kept bombarding the rock figures, the wind escape mask monster ran towards the black soil and terracotta, and then opened its mouth to release the compressed high-density fire escape cannon. The black soil blocked in front of the terracotta, and launched the ninjutsu, Rongdun. Lime solidification technique. The quick-acting cement was spit out from the mouth, and it condensed into a half-meter thick cement wall in a short time, blocking the attack of the fire escape cannon. Haito soon found out that the ninjutsu with the limit of blood can resist the attacks of these monsters, while the simple Done of Kaito was beaten without any power to fight back. Then she thought that Kaito had just released a layer of rock on her body as a result. Armor, by this idea. She released ninjutsu against the rock line that the terracotta used to connect the rock figures. Wrong escape. Lime flow cover art. The cement spit out from her mouth was combined with the terracotta rocks, and the cement covered the surface of the rock figures. After that, it solidifies rapidly, thus forming a soluble protective layer. Sure enough, this trick worked. The wind escape mask monster released an ultra-high-density wind escape cannon to hit the rock figure, only breaking part of the cement on its exterior, and the rock figure was unscathed. Now there is hope. Kitu controls the rock figure and is no longer disturbed by the wind escape gun, so it quickly grabs the wind escape mask monster, slams it to the ground, and smashes it with a giant rock fist. The wind escape mask monster, until it smashes its mask to smithereens. As soon as the mask shattered, the black body of the wind escape monster softened into a puddle of black water, and it died. It's pretty capable, Kaitu. Heitu praised while blocking the attack of the fire dun monster with the wrong dun. Go and smash that horn to pieces, hurry up and call it a day. Chapter 379, The Grievances of Jiaodu. After a heart was destroyed, Zhao knew that he was careless and underestimated the ability of these shadow guards, especially the short-haired girl, who was very adaptable and could quickly think of ways to deal with it according to the battle process. It is not common among the younger generation of ninjas, and it is somewhat similar to Konoha's little ghost who can manipulate shadows. Although the attacking style at the beginning was a bit reckless, he was able to respond flexibly and use the melting escape line condensation technique to control his actions, which was really similar to that kid from Konoha. And with a rare bloodline limit, such a good candidate is just qualified to make up for the heart they just destroyed. Just as Jiaodu was analyzing the black soil, the rock figure controlled by the red soil had come to him, and it swung a huge rock fist and smashed towards Jiaodu's body. Jiaodu quickly launched a ninjutsu, two dun, two lance. The two dun chakra was integrated into each cell of his body, which hardened his skin and greatly improved his defense ability, as hard as a diamond. The fist of the rock smashed into Jiaodu, who blocked his arms in front of his chest. The huge impact made him a little bit struggling. He didn't expect that fat man to have such a powerful strength. Since Jiaodu's feet were still trapped in the cement, he could only bend his knees to fall down and fall heavily on the already hardened cement, thus avoiding the fatal blow. Before it was over, Kitu manipulated the rock figure to fuse the two rock fists together, and the two giant hands together made a horn as big as a person's body, and then it used all its strength to smash it down on Jiaodu's body. If he resists this punch bluntly, Jiaodu's identity must be broken. He is in a hurry and puts his hands together to make a spear. Because of the reason that he has just integrated the earth attribute chakra into his body is as hard as a diamond, which can not only resist blows, but also enhance the attack power of the flesh. So at the moment when the giant rock hammer smashed into Jiaodu, he used the fingertips of the protruding palms together to block it. At the moment when the giant hammer touched Jiaodu's finger, the rock was subjected to the force of the sharp and hard object, and the giant hammer was split into two halves, smashing on both sides of Jiaodu's body, smashing the cement on the ground, and Jiaodu not only miraculously escaped the attack, but also escaped from the molten cement. Escape. Hey, Kaitu, what the hell are you doing? Seeing this, Heitu's eyes were about to pop out. Why did you let him out? Sorry, I didn't mean to. Kitu scratched his head, his face innocent. At this moment, the fire escape monster, who had been attacking the black soil, also stopped attacking, returned to Jiaodu's side, and quickly got into his body. Next, Jiaodu released his resentment and let the mask monster in his body fuse with himself. The joints of his two arms fell off and were connected by the black blood vessels in his body, allowing them to move freely. And his mouth, which had been covered by the mask, was also cracked, and a large number of small black blood vessels were spit out from his mouth. Even his hair grew rapidly and became thick, looking like a monster. On both sides of Jiaodu's head, there were two masks protruding from his hair. One was the fire evasion mask monster who had just attacked the black soil, and the other was the evil-looking thunder escape mask monster with a yellow nose. It's disgusting, it's like a monster. Heitu shook his body, feeling hair all over his body. Is this his final form? Kaitu frowned and reminded Heitu, be careful, I feel that the situation has changed a bit now, and his current appearance is not easy to deal with. However, Heitu looked at the mask on Jiaodu and recalled the battle just now, and suddenly had a doubt in her heart. She asked Kitu, that person named Kakashi said, how many hearts does Jiao have? 5. Kitu recalled for a moment, and then said, I remember correctly, he said it would take 5 kills to kill him. Did we kill a heart just now? Heitu asked. Assuming a mask represents a heart, the mask monster who was just killed by you using the wind escape is considered dead once, and now he should return. There are 4 hearts. Sure enough, Heitu also noticed the abnormality in Jiaodu. If his own heart did not have a mask, there would be 1 heart on each side of his head, which means that Jiaodu now has only 3 hearts in total. Where did the other heart go? Heitu asked. No matter how much, the difficulty seems to be reduced anyway. No matter what he looks like, just kill him 3 more times. Heitu said to Kaito with excitement. You make a bigger rock figure and follow me. Cover his body. After I use Rongdun to control his body, you will go up. It is best to solve it all at once. Although a big portrait is also powerful, the bigger it is, the more difficult it is to operate, and the speed will be slower, Heitu said. That's why I took the lead, stupid. When I control him, how can he move? Heitu gave him a white look and said, go. Seeing the short-haired girl rushing over again, Jiaodu can probably guess their action pattern. The little girl's Rongdun can limit her actions, and then the big fat man will use his stone man to attack him. Since he has guessed their attack mode, he just needs to avoid the little girl's bloodline limit. Secret technique. Heart capture. Jiaodu preempted the attack, quickly extending a dozen black meridian lines from his arms, and quietly buried them in the ground. The black soil has come to Jiaodu. She jumped up and was about to launch the Rongdun line congealing technique, but before she could seal it, she saw the mask on the left of Jiaodu open its mouth. Fire done. Had hard work. It is no longer a high-density fire escape cannon, but a wide-ranging flame tsunami, heading straight for the black soil. Seeing that the situation was not good, Heitu immediately changed her handprints and activated ninjutsu, water escape. Water horn. However, just this level of water escape could not resist the fire escape of Jiaodu. Many fireballs of different sizes condensed in the flame tsunami overhead, attacking him. At the critical moment, the large rock figure of Heitu possessed itself and blocked the top of the black soil, barely blocking Huo Dun's attack. However, the fireball continued to shoot down. The temperature on the rock figure had risen to a very high level, and the black soil beneath it seemed to be almost cooked. At the same time, Jiaodu realized that the meridian tentacles buried in the ground broke out in front of the black soil, inserted directly into her chest, and grabbed her heart. Hee, it's over. Jiaodu sneered, not giving them a chance at all, and the Lei-Dun mask monster on the right side of his head slowly opened his mouth at this moment. Chapter 380. The Death of Fei Duan. The red side of Feijuan has a telescopic function. The bottom is connected by a rope and extends to the rope loop on Feijuan's waist. Therefore, his attack range is quite wide. The purpose is to damage the opponent to a greater extent and facilitate blood collection. Therefore, Zhang Yang can't attack Feijuan at close range, and it is very troublesome to swing his sickle around. If he collects his own blood, then Zhang Yang can only make a glorious revolution. Zhang Yang could easily do it if he just kept his distance from Feijuan, but now, I don't know why Didera, who had only attacked Zhang Yang once in the hall just now, threw a bomb on his head again, which made Zhang Yang very annoyed. It's already very difficult to avoid Feijuan's attack, and now he has to guard against the explosion maniac above his head. In fact, Didera couldn't do anything either. When everyone dispersed just now, Didera saw Obito fighting Kakashi and Kai. Lazy. In order not to be punished by the boss of the organization, as long as he kills Zhang Yang himself, Obito will have nothing to say. However, Didera could see from the small clay bird just now that there was a huge beast-like claws sticking out from Zhang Yang's body. Either Zhang Yang was a beast himself, or he was a sealer-tailed beast in his body. The former is unlikely. In addition to the ghost shark, which is considered a beast, there will not be a second person like that in the ninja world, so he concluded that there must be a tailed beast in Zhang Yang's body. Since this is the case, he can no longer use ordinary attacks to deal with him. At this time, Didera used C2 Dragon. He used the blasting clay to create a giant flying dragon that could spit out an animal-shaped blast from its mouth. Clay to attack enemies. The clay dragon spit out from the mouth in the palm of Deidara's palm to the ground. Zhang Yang only felt that there was a shadow behind him blocking the sun. When he looked back, he almost urinated. Such a big one. What do I have a grudge against you? Zhang Yang scrambling away from the giant dragon. Only when he ran away did he notice that it was used by Deidara to ride, and Zhang Yang scolded, "What are you showing off? Isn't it riding a big bird?" Before he finished speaking, Deidara jumped from Big Bird's back to the dragon's back, and then Big Bird flew towards Zhang Yang. "You forced me," Zhang Yang roared, and then hurriedly injected the thunder-type chakra from his body into the flowing blade Ruahuo, and then waved his arms from bottom to top, splitting the big bird into two, fell to the ground. Hey! Deidara launched a ninjutsu, and surprisingly, the detonating big bird didn't explode. Soon he noticed that the knife in Zhang Yang's hand was flashing with electric light, and then he realized that it was Lei Dun. Lectu, I didn't expect this kid to know the chakra of his earth attribute, it's not easy. And Zhang Yang also knew that he couldn't drag it on any longer. The first thing to solve was Feijuan, a fanatical religious believer. Although it was difficult to get close to him, Zhang Yang was no longer as nervous as before, because at this time he remembered that he had something. When Feijuan saw that Zhang Yang dared to run towards him like this, he twisted his neck and shouted, "Fuck you, little brat." Zhang Yang quickly bent his knees, then leaned his neck back, dodging the attack of the sickle, and at the same time knelt down on his knees and swept towards Feijuan. In fact, doing this is very dangerous, because as long as Feijuan pulls the rope hard, the sickle will return to attack Zhang Yang's back, and Zhang Yang's current action is not easy to hide. As he thought, Feijuan laughed wildly and pulled the rope, while Zhang Yang was already kneeling and rowing all the way in front of Feijuan. However, a strange thing happened like this. Feijuan lowered his head and looked up at Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang raised his head and looked at Feijuan. The sickle also fell to the ground because Feijuan stopped pulling, making a clear and loud sound. Deidara looked at it with sweat on his forehead, and finally he couldn't help shouting wildly, "Hey! You two don't like each other, right? Now you're fighting. Do you want to kiss?" Fei Duan. It's a pity that Feijuan can only hear Deidara's cry now, but his body can't do anything. Zhang Yang stood up with a sneer, then raised his head and stared at Deidara, raising his eyebrows. Sharing eyes. Deidara's mind exploded. How could this kid have shakers? No wonder the flying section was controlled. But is he from the Uchiha family? Why is there only one eye with blood-round eyes? Kakashi's son. Countless conjectures flashed through Deidara's mind, but at this time he saw Zhang Yang jumping around on the ground, saying something. "It hurts to death, it's killing me." Zhang Yang put down the knife and rubbed his two knees with both hands. He just scratched a few meters away, and his knees were bleeding. After he recovered, he picked up the flow blade Ruohuo again, and cut Feijuan's body in half with a knife to the back of Feijuan, who was still standing still in the illusion. And from Feijuan's body, the meridian tentacles of Jiaodu's earth grievance wanted to sew Feijuan's body together again. How could Zhang Yang give it a chance? He stabbed Lu Ren Ruohuo into the beating heart, and then launched a ninjutsu on him, Fire Escape. How about Fireball? The raging fire pierced the heart and the tentacles on his body burned to ashes. Of course, Feijuan was in pain to death, and he shouted to Zhang Yang in a frenzy, "Even if you burn me to ashes, I will kill you. If you turn into a ghost, you will drain your blood. You're..." Before he could speak, Feijuan was burned alive. After finishing the incident, Zhang Yang took a deep breath and sighed, "If you want to kill me, you'll have to wait until you learn how to travel through time and space. Goodbye, Feijuan idiot." Deidara has been watching Zhang Yang's ninjutsu, whether it's from the riding wheel eye or the fire escape. How fireball technique. This is the ninjutsu of the Uchiha family. It seems that this kid is really a member of the Uchiha family. This time it's good. The left eye that I have trained to deal with Uchiha Itachi's illusion can finally come in handy. It's you next, artist. Zhang Yang continued to inject chakra with thunder attributes into Lu Janruahuo. He knew that the wheel eye would not work on Deidara, and his left eye was equipped with miniature telescopes. I usually store a large amount of chakra in it, which can crack illusions, so I still use the stupidest way to deal with him, Lectu. However, at this moment, the appearance of another member of the Xiao organization caught Zhang Yang by surprise. This person is absolutely. He emerged from the field below Didera, and seemed to have been following the battle for a long time. Heiju said, Didera, if you cover Feijuan, maybe he won't die. Baiju said, it's fine, I'm also bothering him to promote his heresy everywhere.